Okay, guys, welcome back to Watts the Obsession. Thank you so much for being here tonight at this chat, discussion, and live stream. Ooh, feedback. I didn't realize that was on. Very good. Where we will be featuring a special guest, friend of the channel, Kevin B., who is, in fact, a verified expert in the oil field, including the equipment used and the mechanics and the workings of oil batteries. Kevin has been on the channel before, and many of you have requested to bring him on again. So he's here. So that is extremely exciting. I have some questions that you guys have given me through messages, through the community page, and otherwise. And of course, you guys are welcome to ask him questions through the live chat. So I just want to let you know that what we are going to be talking about this evening, and also some of the footage that is going to be played, including this next video, which is part of Chris Watts' confession from Dodge Prison, is sensitive. And if you are sensitive to listening to or viewing this kind of material, I just want to make you aware of that out of respect for the viewer. So please do know that. So please listen very carefully to Chris Watts in his own words from Dodge Correctional Facility in Wisconsin in February of 2019. His 5+ consecutive life sentences.
Something was urgent, just like I had to say something.
Okay. So then exactly what did you say and what happened?
So when I woke her up and it's like, hey, we just gotta talk.
Okay.
And just like I told her, I don't feel compatible. I don't feel like it's gonna work. I just, I don't wanna, like, can we cancel the trip to Aspen? She had booked a trip that week to go to some like mystery 4-star luxury hotel or something.
Just the two of you or the whole family?
Just me and her.
Okay.
And she had a man affair, couldn't watch the kids that weekend or something.
Okay.
And I was just like, can we cancel that? Can we like do something? Like, from what I remember, I even said, can we move to Brighton just to get away from like this house?
Oh.
But like, I'm not sure if that was like in the beginning or the end of our conversation or whatnot. That conversation was so many different ways. Like they had gone from like staying together to not staying together to just like all of the above.
Okay. So this is half an hour, what?
Definitely not more than that. I don't think.
Okay.
I don't think.
Are you crying? Is she crying?
It's back and forth. It's like, she's got, mascara. She didn't wash her face when she got home. She had makeup on still, so mascara was running all over her and stuff like that. And it was nothing about that conversation. I just wish I could take all of it back. Just the whole Nikki thing back. everything. But
So then when did it turn?
as far as that conversation, it's at the end when I was telling her, like, I told her I didn't love her anymore. That's when it happened.
What happened?
She told me to get off her, and then I put my hands on her.
Did you say she said something like that you were hurting the baby or something?
That was before that, because when I was straddling her, it was kind of like around her waist type deal.
Why did you get on her like that?
I just, when we got on the bed, that's just what I got on.
Is that so she would listen to you?
I felt like she could probably listen to me just laying beside her, but I got on top of her. And every time I think about it, I'm just like, did I know I was going to do that before I got on top of her? I don't know.
Really? That's an interesting thought, Chris. You don't know if you knew.
Just like everything that happened that morning, I don't know. Like I try to go back in my head. I'm just like, I didn't want to do this, but I did it. Everything just kind of like.
Felt like you had to?
It just felt like it was. I don't even want to say it felt like I had to. It just felt like there was already something in my mind that I was implanted that I was going to do it, and I woke up that morning, it was going to happen, and I had no control of it.
You never thought about it before?
It was just like I don't want, like when, like in the sentencing hearing, that prosecutor said it takes 2 to 4 minutes, something like that to happen. Like why can't I just let go? I didn't.
Oh, that's interesting.
I just let
Was
go.
it feeling like it was in motion and you just couldn't stop it?
Yeah, it was just like I don't even want to know what she saw when she looked back at me. Honestly,
Did you look at her? What was she doing? Why do you think she wasn't fighting?
Maybe she was praying. Maybe she was just. I read the Bible. It said, where the scripture says, "Don't forgive these people for they do not know what you." Like when you guys told me, like, take off your shirt and check for defensive wounds, and there wasn't going to be any. She didn't fight. I don't know why.
So she didn't grab. Could she grab your arms, or were her arms pinned down, or?
Not that I remember. I don't think so. I mean, I don't think like I moved to where my knees were around her arms or anything. But it was just kind of like when I got on top of her, we started talking. That was it. It's kind of like in my head, or like in the back of my head, that was going to happen. And just like at the end of the conversation, it was just like, that's what happened. I just wish I could have let go.
Did it seem like it was that long, 2 to 4 minutes? How long did it seem for you?
Almost kind of felt like it was longer almost, because it felt like time was standing still. It's kind of like I just saw my life just disappearing before my eyes, but I couldn't let go. It was like somebody else, like if you picture somebody else around you, holding your hands, holding you, keep you from not letting go.
At some point there was a statement about rage. Do you feel like you were in a rage at that point?
That's the only way I can describe it, honestly. Like a snap, something. I mean, I know. I guess my attorney had said like some, strangulation is more of like a, I don't know, passionate type thing. I'm just like, I don't know how that can be passionate.
It's just intimate because you're right in there,
Yeah.
using your own hands. It's a lot different than someone standing across the room and you shooting them or something like that. So
It just felt like somebody was like behind me, just like I just couldn't let go.
It's interesting to me because there was a lot of things in your life that were like that, right? Where you're just like, maybe felt out of control, or maybe felt like, I don't know why I couldn't take a step back, or, like even when you said, when your buddy was like, let's go to the football game, you wanted to say yes, you just couldn't.
I wanted to. Like I haven't been to a football game since North Carolina, so I was just like, yeah, sure. I wanted to say that.
Yeah.
I wanted to just text him, hey, it fell through, can't go.
So then
And after, shenanigans, like, once that was, she was gone, and just like, I didn't know what was going on. It's like, it was like a traumatic, I don't know what you call it, traumatic event type, and everything, and like, I was shaking, I didn't know what had happened. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I had done. I still wasn't in that right state of mind. I don't think like I was in control of what I could think or what I could do at that point in time. Like most people say, like, why don't you just call 911? When I was like, unless you're in that situation, you don't know what you would have done. It's easy to play Monday morning quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that.
Like I said, if somebody shoots somebody, you don't know what they was going to do in mind at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what you'd have done.
So what happened next? Is that what happened? Bill came in.
Welcome to everyone who's just joining.
What she
Again,
said.
this is information that's definitely of a sensitive
Did
nature.
she hear something? Is that what she
Obviously, I think.
Okay. What'd you tell me?
I don't feel good.
And then, did that happen with Bella right in that room?
Not proper.
What happened?
She walked in as, she's talking about, she was sleeping.
Did you take her back to her room?
But she had in that sheet that you found in sight.
Okay. And what?
Carried her downstairs, backed my truck up.
At that point, were the girls still there? Okay. So then she lands in the truck. Then went back to the house.
Got everybody back in the truck.
Was Bella first or was Cece first?
In the truck.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So Shanann was first, and then Bella was next. Was Bella alive when you guys got in the truck? Oh, okay. What happened?
I woke back up.
Okay.
I don't really want to talk about this part, honestly.
Okay.
Those are my kids. This is my baby. I have to talk to them every night. Help us get up.
Okay.
Every time I see pictures of them, I don't know how this could have happened. Being a dad was the best part of my life. I took it all away.
I think that's the hardest part for us, Chris, is we see those videos, we see that love that you had for your girls. Like, it's obvious to us, and even to us, it's hard for us to understand how a dad who's given piggyback rides and, making snacks and watching princess movies and those kinds of things, how you get to that point,
I don't know. Like I said, it was just like something else was controlling me that day. I had no control over what I was like to fight back.
Yeah.
Like when that prosecutor said that Bella bit her tongue, like repeatedly, I just wanted to just bang my head up against the wall.
So you put Shanann in the truck, and then you put the two girls in the truck? Were they just sitting in their car seats, or I guess they didn't probably have car seats in your truck, did they?
No, I was sitting in the back with in that bench sheet
So Shanann was back there too? Is that
on the
right?
floor.
What did they say about Shanann being on the floor?
Mommy, okay?
What'd you tell them?
She'll be fine.
Did you have their stuff with them, like their toys and their blankets and stuff?
They had something with them that they carried. one of them, I think CC and Bella had like a blanket or something with them,
Mm-hmm.
like a pink blanket or.
What about the dog? I think one of them had a dog, right? That talked or dog.
Yeah,
Cece.
yeah, one of them had like a little barking dog.
Was that with you too? Do you know?
I think it was. It's hard to remember. Like if
Yeah.
they had like the big blanket, small blanket.
So, I think I saw on the video that you put a gas can or something in the back of your truck. Is that right? Did you have different plans when you put that in there?
I don't know what was going through my head. I feel like maybe I could just get rid of myself at the same time if I was doing all this, honestly.
Yeah.
Did you think about that?
What'd you think about that?
I didn't feel like I deserved to live after what had happened.
Was there any thought to the whole family going away that day, to include you?
After everything happened, that's a definite thought.
Yeah. See, it's interesting to me. We had all kind of wondered if there was a point when you were all together, and if you were all going to pass together. That to me makes sense, because that's, even though it sounds crazy, that's what a family man does, right?
Family man doesn't do what he did.
No, I know. I guess what I mean is, it seems like you guys were going to be together forever in that way. Is that maybe what was going through your head?
Honestly, I just felt like I didn't deserve to live.
Yeah.
And it was like whatever judgment I was gonna come upon myself, I just didn't deserve to be on this earth anymore.
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
So what made you not do that? Do you think?
I don't know if it was just more of like because with the site, maybe it was just more of like I would have hurt more people than just me and everybody else. Like, I know there's other people out there, not like at the site, but other people like maybe out in the area. Like I didn't want something like on the site to catch fire and blow up, and then other people around would get hurt in the same.
So you were thinking initially about starting a fire out there or an explosion or something, or?
Just, no, not for that. Just like maybe I could just take care of myself. And not like that.
Wow.
Gasoline. That's the only thing you do. I mean, I don't have a gun. I don't have anything like that. It's not like you can just commit suicide that way. But it's
So
just
just to blow yourself up?
I mean, it was just. I wasn't thinking.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, I don't have weapons. I've never hunted before in my life. I don't know what. I mean, nothing was right that morning.
Yeah. I remember you kept telling me that. You kept saying, I didn't know what I was doing, Tammy. I didn't know. Like,
Yeah, when you asked
I
about
remember,
the sheet, like, what were you doing? Like, I don't know what I was doing.
yeah. I think you were just like in automatic mode, or it seemed like. So did you drive straight out there? So what were you thinking on the way out there?
It's kind of like what I'm doing right now. I'm just like, nervous, shaking, not knowing like, what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, I know like my life has completely changed. I don't know like what's happening. Like, honestly, like I try to picture that whole ride, like it's like 45 minutes to an hour ride out there. And it's just like, couldn't I have like saved my girl's life? Couldn't I have done something? Why did I do that? I don't know.
All right.
Like, this is my flesh and blood. This is like what I wanted all my life, was to be a dad, just to have kids, and they loved me, all that, and it just nothing made sense.
Right.
Like the oil tank, nothing made sense. I'm just like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm. So what happened when you got out there?
I took Shanann out just to a place off to the site.
Mm-hmm.
And then
What were the girls doing when you were doing that?
just sent them back the truck.
And then what happened after that?
CC was first. She did have a blanket. She had a blue blanket. A Yankee blanket.
So was she alive when she went into the oil tank? No.
I put the blanket over her head.
And that's how she passed. Couldn't breathe.
I put the blanket over her head. I didn't want to. No. I strangled her right there in the back seat.
Okay.
What was Bella doing?
Beside her.
Did she understand? Did she know what was going on?
She didn't say anything.
And then the same for Bella. Just without a blanket.
With the blanket.
Oh, okay.
I didn't look. Like every time I closed my eyes, I just hear her saying, "Daddy, no," and that was it.
That's what Bella said.
I hear that every day.
You're like, sorry, man.
Sorry doesn't take anything back.
I know. Is it possible that in your mind you didn't want them to suffer throughout their life? Was this like a mercy thing?
I mean, you can say that like after the fact, but it was just like
You didn't feel like that during it?
I just didn't. It felt like it was just like an anger with Shanann, with everything that I was just taking it out on everybody that was in front of me that morning.
Yeah.
I mean, kids growing up without their parents, I mean, depending on what grandparents or whoever they grew up with, seemed to be fine. But it was just like it was an anger thing. It was just like
And what were you so angry at Shanann about? Like if you could pinpoint it.
nothing that makes anybody want to do this. I mean, you could be angry at your spouse like your whole life, but you should never have done anything like this. You should never let it get to that point.
Okay, so let's see here. All right. Yeah, it is. Okay. So that is, of course, all very, difficult stuff to listen to, but that is, in fact, Chris Watts' final confession that he gave, and that was the only so-called complete confession that Chris Watts gave. And again, that confession is the result of Tammy Lee, Graham Coder, and Dave Baumhover visiting him at Dodge Correctional Facility in February of 2019, February 18th to be exact. Now, keep in mind, Chris Watts was convicted based on a plea deal and sentenced to 5 life sentences plus 84 years. All the sentences ran consecutive, of course, in such an egregious crime in early November of 2018. So many questions surround the mere existence of that interview. The most obvious question is, why exactly did Tammy Lee, Graham Coder, and Dave Baumhover travel all the way to Wisconsin to interview Watts, right? So, as we know, as everyone knows, they're on a budget like anyone else. And, apparently the budget was a big deal because every answer that we have received regarding why the investigation was not complete has to do with money. They'll say, well, when Chris Watts pled, the state funding stopped. Therefore, we were unable to continue to investigate him, right? I know when Dr. B from the channel True Psych Ward, if you're not aware of that channel, definitely go check it out. I would certainly suggest subscribing. Dr. B is an expert and put out a lot of information on this case. None recently, unfortunately. You're going to have to go, like, maybe, I'm not sure about this, but we're going to say about 2 years back in the menu of her videos to find the information. Why did she stop talking about this case? Well, I'm just going to mention this briefly, but I think it is worth mentioning. She was harassed so intensely by, I guess what we call the trolls, people who did not want her or anyone else to be talking about the case, that they actually infiltrated her real life, like in a big way, producing documents that doxed her along with anyone else that these people did not want talking about the case. I mean, they even went so far as to put information about her family in the information that was generated by the people that didn't want anyone to be talking about the case. Which is just really insane. I mean, Dr. B is a highly respected professional of, anyone that talks about the case. She is one person I would always refer people to, and I don't doubt a damn thing she says because she shows you exactly how she arrived at her conclusions. And she is very humble and very forthcoming about any, shortcomings or like flaws in what it is she's I don't want to say speculating, but the information that she's presenting, she'll let you know exactly what can't be proven, which she feels she did prove. And she's just really an upstanding person. Just a moment, I have to take a drink of water. So anyway, so there's that. So let's see. My hair is drying. Let's see what my hair. Oh, it's not so bad. I just took a shower recently. So let me just say hi to some of you guys. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. So we just listened to the part of Chris Watts' confession from Dodge Correctional Facility in Wisconsin when he talked about exactly what he said at that point happened that ended the lives of his two beautiful daughters, Bella and Celeste. So let's see. Kevin, are you here? Do you want to come up yet? I'm going to put the link in chat. So we have somebody on this evening who is an expert in the oil fields that has extensive knowledge about the oil batteries, how things run. And he's answered questions here on this channel before. He's really awesome. I know a lot of people wanted to ask him more questions, so he's here with us this evening. So that's going to be pretty cool. Now, I put a survey out and so I just put the link in chat, Kevin. If you do want to come up, if you want to wait a couple minutes, it's totally up to you. I know that you're a celebrity in our chat. So if people are asking you or talking to you or whatever, you're just enjoying picking on me or whatever it is you guys do. It's all good. It's all good. Kevin Esquire, I'll get you back. Yeah. They had me believing the other day that he put the Esquire at the end of his name. And I was like, oh, you graduated law school. Congratulations. So I can be a little gullible. I saw you just came backstage. Just 1 second. I'm just pulling up our community page here, Kev. Just 1 minute. Oh, let me click this up a little higher. All right. So I just noticed there's a lot of people in chat. There's too many people to say hello to, but hello and welcome everyone. I'm very grateful you're here. Okay. All right. So one thing that I wanted you to see, and unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to post this today. We'll continue to watch this poll as more time goes by and we get even more of you contributing to the vote. If you haven't voted here, please go check out the Watts the Obsession community page and you'll see what I'm talking about. I'm going to put it on screen here as well right now. And then I'm going to invite Kevin up. So here we go. Okay. So here's the question. Let me make sure it came through to you guys. Yes. So it says, Cervi 319. What questions do you have for our oil field / battery expert featured guest is what I meant. Sometimes I typo. What happened at Cervi 319 is one of the biggest mysteries in the Watts case. Please comment with questions for Kevin and then the live stream. And, but here's the poll question. This is what I'm trying to get to. Do you believe, again, another typo, I'm going to have to go back and edit this. What it should say is, do you believe that the girls were murdered at the house at 2825 Saratoga Trail or at Cervi 319, the way that Chris Watts describes it in that interview excerpt that we just listened to? So 31% of people said at the house, and this is based on 121 votes, because unfortunately I just posted a few hours ago. Please go put your vote in. I really want to know what you guys think. It's an important question in understanding what happened in this egregious tragedy. And then 69% of people say that they believe that the girls were murdered at Cervi 319. So again, just one last time, I just want to put out the disclaimer that the information we're talking about tonight, since we are discussing Cervi 319 and, you know, what may or may not have happened, is definitely very sensitive information. So if that kind of thing, just consider that, okay? Because I want to be respectful to the viewers and letting you know that. See, this is what I wanted to do. Oh, no, wait, Kevin didn't come up yet. That was my second screen. Okay. Okay, so now let me scroll down a little bit here just to read some of the comments. All right. So Molson Man, and this is something I do want to discuss this evening because I don't talk about this part of this crime very much, exactly because it is such a difficult aspect of the crime to talk about or even to think about. Molson Man says one at the house and the other at Cervi. Now, based on what Chris Watts said in that final confession that was recorded at Cervi 319, or I'm sorry, that was recorded at Dodge Correctional Facility, where he did talk about what happened when he arrived at Cervi 319, I personally think that that is very possible. And I would like to know more of what you guys think. So if you have a chance, go ahead and give your vote in the on the community page in the survey section. So let's see here. What do I want to pull up is and then also something that Kevin said along to us to just take a look at to help us understand things a little better are some pictures. Now, some of the pictures that I know you guys have been interested in seeing that, you know, there's not many pictures of them from the crime scene itself, are pictures of the thief hatch, which is the opening at the top of the wells, you know, that Chris Watts explains that he put the girls through. So this is the thief hatch. It would be the same kind of thief hatch, same size and all of that, as the thief hatch that was on the wells at Cervi 319. So Kevin was very smart of him there to put something next to that thief hatch so we could see exactly how big that thief hatch is, you know, compared to what everyone knows the size of a water bottle, right? So if you're looking at that thief hatch, that's the size of it compared to a water bottle. And we know that from people's research, from what was disclosed in Discovery, and from the research people have done on their own, that the opening of the thief hatch is about 8 inches. So that's approximately the size of a paper plate. So people use that, you know, as an analogy, because again, a paper plate is something that most of us know the general size of, right? So the thief hatch opening is supposed to be what would that be? The diameter, the length across, the size of a paper plate. So really not that big. I know that, well, we'll let Kevin speak for himself when he comes up here, but I know that the last time he was on this channel, he did say that he felt that, it was possible that, the girls, Cece kind of being, she sort of was like she was a strong girl. Whenever I see CD, I'm like, sturdy. She was sturdy. He felt that, one of the girls, could fit through there, but we'll hear more of what he has to say about that. I'm looking up something here in the discovery for you. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so I'm waiting for this to load. Something that people ask about or wonder about a lot, and a question that comes across my channel a lot is, people would like to know if the text messages or any communications between Nicole Kessinger and Chris Watts were in fact recovered by law enforcement. Because the information that is disclosed by law enforcement and appears in the discovery is very sparse and somewhat sporadic. So I was just thinking about this because I was talking about this with a Curious Rose, and welcome, a Curious Rose. Thank you. And all the moderators for being here. You guys are awesome. Just last night, but I'll remind you guys of this again. So a friend of mine, his name is Alex, and that's all we'll say about him, who is a criminal defense attorney and also runs a non-for-profit agency that does pro bono work, picking up cases that they feel have issues of injustice and or inequity in our country. He became very interested in this case after he finally decided he was going to take a look at the discovery after I had been begging him for a really long time. And he became interested to the point where he did, in fact, talk to somebody who was close to the investigation in the case. So although he did not tell me everything that he learned, because again, he is an attorney, he is a professional, and he, of course, respects the pledge that he made when he passed the bar, Kevin. And he's not going to disclose any information that would be inappropriate to share. What he told me was they did, in fact, uncover all, if not all, very close to all of the text messages and other communications that did occur between Nicole Kessinger and Chris Watts. So somewhere in their, I guess at this point, their archived files, all of that information does in fact exist. And now, while law enforcement does not always have to be totally forthcoming with the public, they are entitled to do, my understanding is, what they need to do and disclose what they feel they should disclose and only what they feel that they should disclose in order to continue the investigation with the greatest integrity. Although they don't have to tell us everything that has been discovered, we do know that they, on several occasions, told us something much different than, oh yeah, like we found all of it, right? So I think that's kind of interesting to know as we're considering what of that which we have been told about this case is true and what's not true. And when we do identify information that doesn't ring true, the next question, of course, is why wasn't the accurate, factual version of whatever information it is disclosed? Because if it was not, I think that it is very reasonable to assume that that is because, in this case, I personally feel it's because there's something to hide, the botched investigation or whatever it may be. I guess the other alternatives would be because law enforcement doesn't feel that it's something that's appropriate for to release for the integrity of the investigation, or I really don't know what the other alternatives are, or it's simply not important. But some of the information that, we are looking for that has not been released is definitely, clearly, and obviously very important. Let's see. I think this is what I'm looking for here. What do I have up on the screen now? Okay, so that's the thief hatch. Very good. Okay. All right. So the next thing that I just want to discuss before we go into questions about the oil tanks is, let's see, you know what? It's going to take me 1 second here. So going along the lines of what was and was not released by investigators, I want you guys to just take a listen to this. So I'm not going to play the whole video. I think it's a 15-minute video that I uploaded just earlier today. And it is a Crime Online article that is discussing the 2017 searches of Shanann Watts and Chris Watts that were, of course, done by Nicole Kessinger. Law enforcement or somebody who, well, let me tell you, there's a lot of question about, what was the final word there? What did District Attorney Rourke actually say about this? A lot of people are under the impression that District Attorney Rourke dismissed those searches as a typo. But guys, that is not exactly the case. So just take a listen to this. This is not a witch hunt. Chris is the headline of the article. Explain data from girlfriend's phone showing Shanann Watts' internet searches months before affair began. Here's a quote from District Attorney Rourke himself. I have no information nor any belief that any other criminal defendant is out there. So the article says the Weld County District Attorney has provided further information about entries in the discovery documents related to the Shanann Watts murder investigation that raised potential questions about information Chris Watts' girlfriend, Nicole Kessinger, volunteered to detectives. As Crime Online previously reported, Kessinger approached police 2 days after Shanann Watts and her daughters, 4-year-old Bella and 3-year-old Celeste, disappeared in Frederick, Colorado in August of 2018 to report that she had been carrying on an affair with Chris Watts that began in June of 2018. As the discovery documents and audio of police interview with Kessinger show, the 30-year-old woman who reportedly met Watts at Anandarko Petroleum, where they both worked at the time, was aware Watts was married but believed he and his wife were headed for certain divorce. She told investigators she was unaware Shanann was pregnant before the missing persons case made the news, and that she didn't know Shanann's name until a while after she became involved with Chris Watts. The discovery documents released by Weld County District Attorney's Office in late November include reports that indicate Ms. Kessinger may have been aware of Chris Watts and or Shanann Watts prior to when she is believed to have met Chris Watts at work. Crime Online made repeated inquiries with the Weld County District Attorney's Office, the Greeley Police Department, and the Frederick Police Department for clarification about multiple entries in the phone data review included in the discovery documents, which show that Kessinger searched for Shanann Watts and Christopher Watts in 2017. Last week, a record supervisor at the Frederick Police Department said that any entry in one of the phone data review reports showing that Kessinger did an internet search for Shanann Watts on September 1st, 2017 was a, quote, typo, end quote, and referred Crime Online to the Weld County District Attorney's Office for further clarification on that entry and on additional entries in a different section of the phone data review showing that Kessinger searched for Shanann Watts in January of 2018 and which references multiple deleted searches for Chris Watts dating back to August 2017. So here, reading right from the discovery, several searches for Christopher Watts can be found prior to 8/12/2018. These entries appear to have been deleted. I searched for the numbers and found no results. I did locate names searches for Chris Watts dated back to August 3rd, 2017, and Shanann Watts dating back to September 1st, 2017. These entries were deleted, but recoverable. Both reports should be reviewed in their entirety. End of item 43. Greeley Police Detective Michael Prill authored the report that included a single entry of a September 1st, 2017 search for Shanann Watts, and Frederick Police Detective David Baumhover authored the report, the excerpt immediately above, that referenced multiple deleted searches for Chris and Shanann Watts. Following a series of email exchanges and phone calls with the Weld County District Attorney's Office regarding the reports, Crime Online spoke with Weld County District Attorney Michael Rourke on Monday. Rourke said that the reports reflected what was shown in the forensic analysis of Nicole Kessinger's phone. Quote, the dates to which you are referring in 2017 where it appears she Googled or otherwise searched Shanann was data that came off her phone, end quote, Rourke said. Quote, it's not a typographical error in the report. The detectives are reporting what was contained in the data from her phone. I don't know the answer to the question of why or how those dates ended up in her phone, end quote. The article continues on. Asked if the district attorney's office questioned or planned to question Kessinger about the data suggesting she was aware of Chris and Shanann Watts for up to a year before the murders, Rourke said that Chris Watts' guilty plea precluded any need to further probe the results of the forensic analysis of Kessinger's phone. We did not get to the point in our investigation of attempting to independently verify that or not because Chris Watts pled guilty, Rourke said. Quote from Rourke. When you asked me if I had verified that information, the answer to your question is no. Nicole Kessinger told us that she met and started the relationship with the defendant in 2018. So where that anomaly in the data comes from, I can't answer it for you. I don't know the answer to it. The article goes on to say, Rourke said that the prosecutors are confident in the results of the murder investigation, which is closed. Quote, I have absolutely no reason to investigate Nicole Kessinger at this point in time, end quote. He said, and then we quote again, this is not a witch hunt. Continue quoting Michael Rourke. My job is to investigate and prosecute who is responsible for the deaths of Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico. We have done that. I have no information nor any belief that any other criminal defendant is out there who is responsible for their deaths in any way, shape, or form. End quote. The Frederick Police Department did not immediately respond to a request for clarification of their earlier statements about the phone data review. Chris Watts pleaded guilty last month to murdering his wife and daughters and is serving multiple life sentences without the possibility of parole in a Wisconsin correctional facility after being transferred out of a Denver prison due to safety concerns. So there you go, folks. District Okay. Attorney Rourke's official word on those mysterious, unexplainable searches for Chris and Shanann Watts conducted by Nicole Kessinger that appeared in the discovery documents. According to Weld County District Attorney Michael Rourke, they are accurate. They were part of the phone data review of Miss Kessinger's phone. They happened. What's up with that? How long was there no sound? Joan just texted me. I hope it was just a short bit. Let's see here. Let's see. Let me just get back down to current times in chat so we can make sure you guys heard everything there was here. Thank you very much, Joan. And Joan, honey, I hope you're feeling better. Joan just had the flu. Let's see. Only a minute. Okay, very good. Okay. So that's what District Attorney Rourke had to say at any rate. I think it's pretty incredible that he says, it's not his job to investigate Nicole Kessinger's searches and to look any further into it. Whereas many people who know very much about how the legal system generally works do not agree with that statement from District Attorney Rourke. After all, Chris Watts pled guilty to 3 homicides, and that plea was a result of his attorney drafting a plea. Now the ball's in Rourke's court. District Attorney Rourke chose to accept that plea, and to be clear, he chose to accept that plea with no conditions around the plea. Oftentimes, if you are research cases where a defendant pled in a homicide case, the district attorney or the prosecutor will make a condition of acceptance of that plea to be, okay. Okay. I don't know why that keeps happening, guys. This is a StreamYard thing. The prosecutor will say, I'll accept your plea if you tell us what happened. And that statement needs to be corroborated by the evidence that we have collected about this crime. So that never happened. And at some point, I did begin to do that research I did a decent amount of research. It never was produced into a video or anything like that, but it affirmed my knowledge, as it would yours if you were to do the same, that in homicide cases, a prosecutor is generally going to push the defendant to actually confess to what happened. And then oftentimes the evidence will be of course looked at to make sure that it supports the statement made by that defendant. Clearly, that did not happen at this case. So as a result, we do things like we look at the timeline of Chris Watt's activities the morning of August 13th, 2018. And in particular, many of you have had an interest in the timeline from when he leaves his house at 2825 Saratoga Trail to when he arrives at Cervi 319, and then what happens shortly thereafter. Let's take a look at that. All right, so here we have one of our case heroes, Tony Husky, who gave investigators a lot of information. In fact, it was Tony Husky who reported to investigators that Chris Watts was having an affair with a girl at the office who we now know as the Dirty Empanada, I mean. Sure. I do not know why that keeps happening. He would have been compelled to give them anyway. Let's see. Let me just shut down some things that I have going on here on my computer so hopefully that will stop happening with the volume. No, let's save this. Hold it. I just got to save my file here. Just one moment, please. Okay. Let me shut down whatever else I got going on. Okay. Okay, so hopefully that's going to help. All right, so let's take a look at this file right here. So this is the timeline of events according to the GPS that was on Chris Watt's truck as a result of Anandarko installing certain software and equipment and all of the trucks in their fleets to track the movement of the trucks and to ensure that safety measures were being observed, because of course this is going to be an issue of exposure and liability to a large oil company. So here, I'm going to share the link again for you, Kev. So you can come on up whenever you want. I'm just going to run through the timeline here. And then I know, well, yeah, we have questions. Let's see. Paste. Oops, didn't copy. Invite, copy, and share. Ta-da! So that's for Kevin. All right, Kevin B. Esquire. All right. So as we look at this document here, what we see, guys, is, well, here, let me just read the above paragraph so you know exactly what we're looking at. According to the documents provided by Husky, it appeared Chris started his work truck at 5:18 a.m. on Monday, August 13th, 2018, and it remained at his residence for 27 minutes. It appeared Chris left his residence at 5:45 a.m. and drove 47 miles to an oil well site in Keensburg, Colorado. We know that is Cervi 319. Chris arrived in Keensburg at 6:53 a.m. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So I don't know if you guys can see this at all. If you're looking at a phone or something, it's certainly going to be small print. But if you're watching on a television or computer screen, you might be able to see it. But I'm going to read exactly what's here anyhow. So we see that highlighted in yellow there on August 13th, 2018 at 5:18 a.m. Yes, Chris Watt started his work truck just as stated. And at 5:46 a.m., then he parked it. He moved it. At 5:46 a.m., he started it up again. Let's see here. Okay. And if you were look all the way to the right, the last highlighted item says August 13th, 2018, 5:53 and 57 seconds a.m. Okay, so for the sake of easier math, I'm calling that 6:54 a.m. So 6:54 a.m. is when Chris Watts left 2825 Saratoga Trail. So let me just bring Kevin up here. Hey Kev, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, awesome. Everyone, welcome
All right.
Kevin. Thank you
Good.
very much
Good.
for being
Hey.
here. Yeah. So I'm just going to
Okay.
continue to explain the rest of this timeline, and then we'll go to you. Okay, friend?
Yep.
Okay. So at 6, oh, would you mind muting your mic for just a moment while I'm explaining this? Because, yeah, StreamYard, man. StreamYard, you got to up your game. StreamYard's been really glitch lately. I don't know why. So at 7:54 a.m., Chris Watts left his residence. So we know that. And then if we continue to look there, oh, sorry, I just tried to mute here. I'll do it. I'll do it from this end. There we go. There we go. Okay. So then we mute. I'm going to mute you again. Don't do anything, please. Okay. Okay. StreamYard's crazy. So then if we continue to look at this, I'm so sorry. I'm saying the wrong thing there. 6:54, guys, is when Chris Watts left his house. Okay, sorry, I knew I was saying something wrong. And 6:53 a.m. and 57 seconds, that's what I was calling around 6:54, is when he arrived at his house. I'm sorry, it's Cervi 319. Oh my gosh. Okay, so it took an hour and 7 minutes for him to drive from 2825 Saratoga Trail to Cervi 319, which is 40 miles away. So what we can safely assume from looking at that is that Chris Watts made additional stops on his way to the oil fields, and which is strange to me. I guess, well, this is a question we can ask Kevin. Let me ask Kevin here, actually, since he's here. So I'm going to unmute you. I'll just do the mute unmute thing since StreamYard's been so funky. So Kevin, so a question I've always had and many other people have is this. Cervi 319 was 40 miles from Chris Watts' residence. It took him an hour and 7 minutes to get from his residence to Cervi 319. Now, we understand that those very final roads leading up to the oil tank are like dirt roads. They're not very refined roads you'd likely go fast on, but the speed limit on the highway, which is most of the travel from his house to Cervi 319, the speed limit is 75. So one could make a reasonable, if you knew nothing about geotab, I think a person could make a reasonable assumption that given it took an hour and 7 minutes for a 40-mile trip that's mostly on a highway with a 75-mile-an-hour speed limit, that there had to be other stops that were made. So the question would be, if Chris Watts pulled over but he just didn't stop his truck, would that have registered as being some anomaly according to the geotab report on the GPS?
What do you mean by pulled over? You mean like just slow
To the
down
side of
and
the
maybe?
road? Well, go ahead.
That would look like. I think it would take a little bit of time for Geotab to acknowledge that you stopped and that you're stopped.
Okay.
So like you get like so you pulled over and you stopped and maybe Geotab just thought you stopped at a stop sign and you continued again.
Okay. There you go. That's
That kind of
right.
thing.
See, I never would have thought about something like that.
So they have these parameters built into the software where they look for certain things that happen. So if you're parked for a certain amount of time, then it realizes that you're just sitting there. Like we have especially for the last 5 years, where you don't idle your truck longer than 5-10 minutes or something like that, and they actually put software in the truck that shuts the truck down if you keep it running for that long because they don't want waste gas and stuff like that. So
Oh my
if you
gosh.
leave it,
Wow.
so yeah, if you leave it in gear, if you're in drive and you pull over and stop for a minute or two. Might just think that you're at a red light, not really stop somewhere. And then you
Okay,
just
that
keep
makes good sense.
continuing on the journey. Okay.
Okay, that makes good sense. All right.
But like you said, the ending of the journey, and I plotted the whole thing with what highway he would have got off of and the exit and going up to that site, and it would have been probably about 20 minutes at least of dirt roads, probably.
Okay, 20
What I
minutes of
saw.
dirt roads. Okay.
That was
So,
my guesstimate from seeing it.
yeah,
I mean,
okay.
you're not going to drive 35 on a dirt road, especially when you're talking about lease road property where, say, it's between 5 and 6 in the morning, and you're tearing up some guy's dirt driveway, kicking up all this dirt. You're gonna piss him off, and that's the last thing, and draw attention to yourself, and that's the last thing you want to do. So you want to keep it nice and clean and go, moderately slow, not attract too much attention to yourself by driving like an a-hole and kicking up all this dirt and making a big dust trail behind you up in the air. So that makes it obvious what you're doing. Does that make sense?
All right, there we go. I think I'm back. I'm sorry, Kevin. This is so crazy. What is going on with StreamYard? Hold on. Let me see if you guys can hear me now. This is nuts. It's been like so super glitchy. This is definitely a StreamYard thing. Can you guys hear me now? Let's see. All right, Kevin. I'm so sorry about that. Like the last minute or so of what you were saying got, I don't know what's going on.
Oh, so
Thank you, sweetie. Thanks,
let me
JJ.
think. If you leave your vehicle and drive and continuously keep moving every once in a while, it's not going to pick you up as being parked. It's going to think that you're at a stop sign or a red light. Some red lights are pretty long, as you know.
Yeah.
So it will just pick it up as one continuously long drive.
Okay. All right.
And
So
you
that makes
don't.
sense.
What I was saying is that what Mike got cut off was that you're not going to be driving up at 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning like some a-hole kicking up a bunch of dirt on a
Right.
loose road. Yeah, because that makes it blatantly obvious what you're doing. You're being an
Right.
asshole driving way too fast on some guy's road that's letting you be there.
Right.
So
Totally.
everything you do is trying to make the lease owner happy with you
Sure.
being
Sure.
there. And so you're not going to, even with him and what he was doing in his state of mind, probably knew that acting crazy and driving fast like that would cause a lot of attention being brought to him, because maybe Cervi ranch guy wakes up at 4 in the morning to go out and milk cows, and he sees a gray pickup truck flying up a road at 50 miles an hour kicking up all this dirt. He's gonna be pissed.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, so
That makes good sense. So I'm sure, like the training that someone like yourself or Chris Watts would have is, people will say, if in a stressful situation or anything else, or just as a matter of habit, you always go back to your training. So even though he was in like this
just like
whatever
the
frame of mind,
military,
yeah, right,
just like the military, you kick back into what you were always
exactly,
read into doing. So I would think that he would just continue to do that,
yeah, awesome.
even
That makes
though
perfect sense.
what the circumstances that were.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, so looking at the fact that Chris Watts arrived at Cervi 319 at 6:54 a.m. This is what happened, after he got there. So I'm just going to enlarge this for a moment and make sure StreamYard doesn't get mad at that. Okay, I guess we're all good. All right. If I do lose sound, if someone could text me, that would be awesome. Thank you. So, all right. So this is what we know happened once Chris Watts got to Cervi 319. Well, there, right here, we're looking at several text messages that happened between Chris Watts and various people he works with prior to his arrival at 6:54 a.m. So, those we can ask Kevin about too, because those were the ones where people would say, well, wouldn't that trigger some kind of an alert in Geotab? But let me get through this little timeline and then I'll give it all to you. So after Chris Watts arrives at Cervi 319 at 6:59 a.m., let's see, there we go. Let's see. He sends, well, Roberts tells Watts, I guess I'm headed out that way to start up the 1029 and Chad will be meeting out there. And Watts replied, okay. So 1029 is, of course, a different site than Cervi 319. So he's probably like, phew, okay, with whatever it was he was doing or whomever was doing. Now, now there's about 20 minutes where no activity is happening on Watt's phone. So what we know, guys, is from the time when he arrives at Cervi 319 at 6:54 a.m., there's about 25 minutes where the only activity on his phone that's happening is him receiving a text and him going, okay. And also this. In the discovery, it states at 7:18 a.m., Watts took a photograph of his laptop screen, presumably sitting in his truck. And I can't wait to ask Kevin what he thinks this picture is of. And then it notes, and now this was taken, guys, from his personal phone. Very few items from his personal phone are included in the discovery for that day, and this is one of them. The note on this item says the metadata confirms Watts was at the Cervi coordinates. The image is apparently only in thumbnail format, and enlarging it blurs out the writing on the laptop screen. So I shared with you, my friend who is a true computer expert. This guy fixes everything. Happened to be over fixing, I can't remember if it was one of my computers, if it was my Mac or my son's Xbox one day. And I was doing some work on videos and we're talking about the YouTube channel and whatnot. And I read to him this little note and this item, and he felt that was absolute BS. He said, listen, like imagine the amount of detail that the investigators are able to recover from images, from, anything, files on a computer. The fact that they could not enlarge a thumbnail enough to see the writing, he literally laughed. So one thing we do know from this note is that apparently there was writing in whatever it was that Chris Watts took a picture of that was on his screen. Now at 7:40, we see Watts sent the staged message to Shanann's phone. If you take the kids somewhere, please let me know where they are. And from there, now there's more activity regularly every few minutes on his phone. So from everything that we just discussed, what is it that we know? We know that from 6:54 a.m., when Chris Watts arrived at Cervi 319, to 7:40 a.m., which is a total of 46 minutes, Chris Watts did jack squat that his phone recorded, except for reading a message a couple minutes after he arrived at Cervi and just said, okay. And then 20 minutes later, he took a picture of his laptop screen from his phone. So we can safely say that, in my opinion, and I think many of you would agree, it's, backed by every single point of evidence we have that can help us determine this. Chris Watts had 46 minutes at Cervi 319, generally undisrupted, except for one text message where he was there by himself and there was very little activity on his phone. And that 46 minutes of me time ended with Watts sending the staged message to Shanann, presumably, in my opinion, because whatever terrible things were done at that point. And now it's time to start to play the game, right? So let's see. Let me just see if anyone has any questions specifically just about that timeline. So 46 minutes. That's our magic number. It was 46 minutes. Let me just put this up here. 46 minutes that Chris Watts had by himself at Cervi 319 when we know no one else was there. He was virtually undisrupted. That was the amount of time he had to do whatever awful freaking things he did. So I guess, the question from here is, among many other things, but I probably, in my opinion, the most critical question we have now is 46 minutes enough time, to ultimately for him himself to do, well, him himself and or someone that was with him, because we don't know, to do, what was done. So just give me a moment here. And okay, I think StreamYard is like all happy with us now. So I'm really hoping that's the case because I don't know. I shut down every other program I was planning on using, and like maybe that's better. I've noticed when I do watch people's live streams, which isn't terribly often, but I catch them occasionally. Why? Yeah, that people have been saying similar things about StreamYard, unfortunately. So just give me 1 second here. Oops, now I'm done with this. So I'm going to close this down and close this down because that's what we got to do apparently. Running a live stream does oftentimes take a lot of things going on like behind the scenes. So I really don't feel like this is an ideal situation, but that's okay. All right. Yeah, so I see in chat right now that you guys are, kind of having the same like debate, so to speak, that people always have about this 46 minutes. And, is it enough time or is it not enough time? I don't know. I think, unfortunately, because of the way the evidence was handled and what we do, have access to, we might never know the answer to that, which is a shame. So all we can do really is, I guess, kind of one of two things. Based on the evidence and what we do know is sit around and kind of theorize about it, which is fine, but it's sort of not enough. Or we can do things like, we can't even, you couldn't even try to recreate the scene at Cervi 319 because the tanks have been taken down, right? So I don't know. Let's see, let me just find something quick here. And then we will get to you guys. Ford.
Can I
Okay,
just say
there you
something
go.
real
Yeah,
quick?
please go ahead. Yeah, definitely. Go ahead, please.
I see in a comment, and it's been brought up before about how you get a child that's a certain size into a certain hole. Well, how do you
Yeah.
put your clothes hanger into your neck hole when you hang your clothes up? That's the same way you put a kid into that hole.
Oh, like you finagle the.
You angle
Yeah.
it in. You angle your shoulders in. That's how they got in.
Yeah.
That's all.
I
All right.
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean it's
That's how you do it. If you
yeah.
want to talk about
It's a
how you
good
get
point.
a certain, look up, like a clothes hanger is 12 inches long, and in the neck hole in your t-shirt might be 4 inches, wide.
Sure.
And so you angle your clothes hanger into the neck hole, and then put it into the where the shoulders go. You hang your shirt up. That's how those girls went in those tanks. That's how it happened.
Oh, yeah.
That's
No, I mean
yeah.
that's a really good point.
People keep talking about it all the time, and it's that easy. So
Yeah, you're right. People do keep talking about it all the time. It's a question I know that has, from a logical perspective has, been troublesome to people. And then also, more so even than that, it's hard to think about. And I actually truly had never thought of it that way. And that, I mean, is a very, very good point. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. All right. So that is, Kevin provided this photo. So this is the size of the thief hatch, again, with the water bottle at a different angle. So laying across. So again, thank you for doing that, Kevin. That was really smart. This gives us a really good idea of, what it is we're looking at here. So let's see. Let me take a look at chat here and see what kind of questions we have. So now, if you guys do have a question for Kevin, if you've typed them in chat previously, I'm not going to be trying to scroll back up to see them at this point. So please type them in chat. And although, typing in all capital letters is often considered obnoxious, I'm just going to ask that you do that just for this purpose so we can easily see them. Yeah, so Sherry Cleaborn had asked at What's the Obsession, ask Kevin how Chris got the girls in that hatch. So that is Kevin's answer. And, although, we could debate about it, it's a pretty solid answer. Let's see. And so catch
Well,
me if
that's
you
the
can.
only
Says,
way. How do you get something that's 10 inches wide into an 8-inch hole? Is you angle it.
yeah.
So you
Yeah,
just
that's right.
angle it. I'm sorry to say it that way, and yeah, trigger warning to everybody out there.
Right.
But
Of course.
what you do is you just angle what you're trying to get into the hole. Doesn't mean there's going to be. Yeah, I guess there were some scratches on Bella.
Bella.
She was
Yeah.
the bit, So yeah, I can imagine it happening. And you've seen that it's not like a 2-inch lip. It's like 6 or 8-inch there lip that goes down into the tank. There's going to
Yeah.
be some there's going to be some scrapes and stuff, but that's how you do it. You angle when you take your clothes hanger, you angle your clothes hanger into your shirt.
Yeah,
That's how your
exactly.
clothes hang on your hanger, because you have a small hole wrapped around a big rod. So your big
Yeah.
rod would be the shoulders, and the small hole is the hole going into the things. You just angle it in there, and I'm sorry for
Yeah.
everybody who offends, but that's what it is. That's all there
Yeah,
is to
no,
it.
I hear ya. I hear ya. So, all right. Hi, Curious Rose. How are you doing? Rose. Hey, Rose. How are you doing, sweetie? Oh, there you are. Hey, how are you doing?
Good. I love listening.
Aw, what's on your mind?
Nothing. I just didn't know if he was uncomfortable with the kid talk.
If what?
He was uncomfortable with the kid talk.
Oh, I can't hear you, sweetie.
Can you hear us?
Now I can hear you. Yeah.
Can Kevin hear?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
so. Yeah, go ahead. You just sounded like you were, like muffled.
okay.
There you go. Better. I can hear you now, honey.
Cool.
Awesome.
Hi, Kevin.
Well, thanks.
Oh yeah,
Muted him.
I'm just getting caught up on what's going on. Sorry.
Yeah,
How
no
are you?
problem. Awesome. Yeah.
No, we love hearing you.
Yeah,
All right.
totally. Yeah. Okay, so all right, so we've got some questions here. So let me bring up those questions. Let me just go back and make sure. Sweet Gail, that's okay, Gail. No, you're okay. Awesome. No, I understand that. Thank you for letting me know that.
Oh,
I never took your caps as being yelling though. So yeah, thank you. All right. So
okay.
let me
Kelly,
bring
God,
these
StreamYard's
questions
a
up.
real pain tonight. It keeps echoing. StreamYard keeps
Yeah, I know.
echoing you, and then it cuts you out.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why. It's really not good tonight. I know. I've noticed. Is it okay right now? Well, you wouldn't know because you're on.
No.
So, okay. So just make sure. I don't think either of you do, obviously. But if you come up on panel, make sure. I don't think this is why tonight. I think it's a StreamYard problem. But if you have YouTube playing in the background, please shut it down so we don't get that
No.
nasty echo. Yeah.
I
So,
StreamYard crashed, Kelly, 3 times today. Did you get any? I got an email on it.
Oh, yeah, no, that makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense, though. I
it,
almost feel better
yeah.
because I kind of feel like, what's my problem?
No,
No,
they
I
even have
didn't.
a
No.
questionnaire attached, like a questionnaire about like how we feel about the StreamYard
Shitty
product.
service.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh man.
I
Okay,
know.
thank you for letting me know that.
Sure,
All right, that makes a
sure.
lot of sense.
I
Because the
know.
problems I've been having tonight I've never had before. So
I
yikes.
know.
Okay, cool. All right. So let me get to some questions here. I'm going to put them up on the screen. So
Mhm.
Melly Mel says, he was in shape talking about Chris Watts. Um, 20 minutes for the grave. Then the kids, considering everything we've already said. So, Melly Mel, I mean, I agree with you. This is just, I guess, a general question or statement. I personally think it would have been possible. I think that somebody else was involved, whether or not they were at Cervi and were part of this. I have no idea. But I mean, to me, it seems like 46 minutes is enough. Please don't put anything in caps unless it's a question for Kevin, please. Okay. Um, okay. So T. Andrews says, and I don't know, this is going to go to you, Kevin. I would not know this at all. But it's a good question now that I'm actually thinking about it. I never thought about it before again, but now I am because she brought it up. T. Andrews asks, were the tanks full with crude oil, but they sank? So to answer your question, they weren't full. One of the tanks, I believe, had 7 feet in it. And I mean, we could find the answer to this question, but they weren't totally full. They were at best half full. And then the other one was, I'm estimating maybe up to a quarter full. What do you think about
I
that,
heard
Kevin?
what I saw was 9 foot in one and 1 foot in the other. That's what I saw when I
Oh, really?
uh,
Okay. Yeah, you might be. I
so
was when I was saying 7, I was thinking it might be 9. Okay, so what I said was just wrong, and you're probably right. Okay, so they were definitely not full in that case.
nah. So
So
you're
let's talk
talking about
about this.
20.
Yeah,
So they're 20 foot high. So
yeah. So they're
nine
really
foot's
not
not even
full.
halfway full. Yeah.
Nope. Thank God for Kevin. All right, let's see. Let's see what else we got here. Um, Okay. So this is a good question. And I think this is on Anandarko. I think this is their bad, but let's see what Kevin has to say. Elizabeth Bridges says, why didn't the Cervi 319 site have cameras?
Because it's too old. No one cares because it's been going on for so long. There's never been any problems, and just let things roll as it was. It's only
Okay.
recently that we started having cameras put in, and a lot of that was just to catch people rattlesnake hunting, because in Pennsylvania, you're not allowed to kill rattlesnakes. So they wanted to catch people who were killing rattlesnakes along the lease road. It had nothing to do with people actually going on the lease road. And I can tell you, or I can show you pictures of a site where you can just drive across a piece of grass and go right up onto a lease road that's right across the street from, or right, you know, 20 feet away from a church. So you have kids out playing soccer right next to the, gas well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
So
that's right. And Kevin actually showed me pictures of that. I'll bring them up in a second. I'm like crazy searching for questions here. I see all your questions, and it's right. I'm sorry. The batteries are right next to an oil field. So DC Primetime, honey, I see all of your questions, and I'm trying to get to them, but please, please, please put it in caps because it's really hard to find otherwise. I saw someone just said that DC Primetime question 6 is a really good one. So let's look at this one. Okay, we got 6 and 7. Awesome. Okay, she asks first, can you remove the Geo tab from one truck and switch it out with another on the fleet undetected?
no, because there would be inside memos going on with what geotabs is being put into what truck, and then what person is supposed to be associated with that geotab that's associated with that truck. So
Okay.
you wouldn't take geotab out to put into another truck because
And I
first of
have
all,
the
you have
geotab
you
fob
have to
up on the
not have
screen
another
here.
truck. Yeah, that's your geotab. You run that over the sensor I talked about earlier. So
Yeah.
you have the geotab sensor is like an inch by inch square that goes on your left or right hand side of the steering wheel, goes straight to your starter, goes straight to the computer of the truck, which memorizes everything. And you wouldn't take geotab off of, you wouldn't take a geotab sensor off one truck and install it in another one. You would have to first of all, you'd have to have a truck that didn't have geotab to install that onto, and then you would have to have a reason why your
It's
ID,
just not something.
the
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
the geotab ID, and the truck ID don't match up. So all these things have to match up. You have to match up. Your truck has a number, your geotab has a number, and then you
Right.
have a number.
That's
So all
easy.
those things have to match up.
Okay, that
And
makes good
there's
sense.
people that there's like service people, like mechanics, that get jobs to install and take out geotab when the truck's done and they go to auction and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get recycled and stuff like that. They just get thrown away. They just get a new
Okay.
geotab. It's much easier to just start brand new over, and then you have no problems with ex-employee being registered on a geotab with a truck that don't exist anymore, and you just start over
Okay.
fresh all the time. And
Cool.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to keep moving you along just because we have a lot of questions. And DC, I think I found all your questions. I went back and starred them. So awesome. Thank you very much. You have really great questions. So here's another question. I'm going to ask it and then I just have to walk away for a second. I'll be just a minute, but just so you know. So DC asks, how well documented are the actions of the contractors, like the water truck guy, different from that of company men like Watts, Troy, or Cody?
okay, so Watts, Troy, and Cody are going to go out and they're going to do a routine that they do every day. That they go and see these certain sites. Like Troy would have a certain amount of sites that he goes to. Watts would have a certain amount of sites that he goes to. And then when it comes to a contractor, they would show up, and he had that guy, the water transfer guy that showed up on Tuesday, already had his paperwork filled out to have Troy sign it when he showed up. He did everything right, and that was to cover his own ass. Like I said before, you have to do all these things in order to keep these companies happy for you to keep your job, or else they'll find somebody else to do it. So it's not easy because they're keeping track of all that, because they want to know who's not doing good, and they want to get rid of who's not doing good, and find somebody who will do good, and maybe, just maybe, it'll be a little cheaper.
Right. Seriously. Yeah. It's all about the bottom line with these companies for sure.
Yep.
Okay. So, how does the oil industry get a bad rap when they are so highly regulated? I'm just going to say that's about money, but we'll see what Kevin says. Can you explain some of
No, it's
the
about
vernacular?
environmentalism. It's about
Environmental.
environmentalism. And
Okay.
I seen shows 10 years ago on NBC. I don't remember what it was, but it was, some show that we're gonna go burn this gas site down. I'm like, well, that's asinine. I mean, that's like when you
Right.
have the environmentalists burning up a Humvee dealership, and the
Uh-huh.
damage that they're doing burning up these Humvees is much worse than what the Humvee will actually do out the road. So, I
Right.
mean,
Right.
it's mostly environmentalism. So, not too long ago, like maybe 10 years ago, we had a bunch of people chain their arms together with pipe and chains. They had chains wrapped around their arms and then put pipe over that, and they cemented that in, and they laid across the road to prevent people to go into the site. So then the fire department had to come and cut all these lunatics up. Cut the chains up and cut with chainsaws and cut all these people up, and they went to jail. And just think if like someone's house was on fire while these guys were cutting these chains up, that house would have burnt down while they're dealing with these psychopaths. I mean, yeah, I get you. You think you're saving the environment. You're actually doing more harm than anything else. So
Yeah.
but
Okay.
they get the bad rep. Like I was saying before, they get the bad rep because they don't come out and say what they're doing. They if they would just come out and say, we're doing this, it's going to be here, there, and there. Your roads are going to be, it's going to be a little bit congested here, there with the roads and
Right.
the trucks that we're going to have and all that. Things would go much better, but they just don't do any of that. They don't ever say anything about anything. And that's probably their biggest downfall, is they just don't say what they're going to do.
Okay.
I mean, it'd
Here's
be
a
much
two-part.
easier if they were just, okay.
But they don't, because it seems like I feel like they have like a power issue. They think they're so powerful they don't have to answer to anyone. But
Right.
yeah. So here's two questions. Okay. So it says, does Geotab report when passengers are in the work truck? And Kevin, if you can talk about front versus back seat. And then also, would cell phones be prohibited on site and near the hatches when opening?
No to all of that.
Okay.
No, Geotab doesn't know anything about anybody but the driver. It doesn't know how many people the driver had in the vehicle with him, and there's nothing saying that you can't have a cell phone on top of the tanks when you're around them.
Right. Kevin, if Cervi say that the tanks were still in place, I know it's an old ranch, but they decided they needed cameras. Would it be the responsibility of Cervi, or would it be the responsibility of Anandarko to install cameras?
Anandarko would have to install the cameras.
Okay.
I've been on plenty of sites with cameras because I got caught opening gates and leaving them open for myself because I'd be the only one there. So I would leave the gate open so I didn't have to come back through and get out, put the combination in, open up the gate, go through, shut the gate, and So it would be Anandarko's purview to put the cameras up, not anybody else's.
Okay.
They are the ones that are insecure of the site. They're the ones that are telling the Cervi owners that they're going to take care of everything. So
Right. So they insure.
these being old sites.
Go ahead. I just
I'm
thought
sorry.
I agree with you that they're insuring Cervi. Everything will be okay.
Yeah.
We're doing everything to the utmost safest. Blah blah blah. Okay.
Yeah, the lease owner is the king of the whole thing. So, like, they can get as mad or as in. I've had like just as within a year ago that guys were just we were tracking a site and the landowners roll up on a Polaris which is a not like a four-wheeler, like a ATV.
Yeah.
And just drive around the site and just be like, hey, what's going on? We're just visiting and watching. We're like, yeah, okay. They just kind of drive around, see what's going on. They, landowners are very protective about their land, and they, they should be. They want to know what's going on. They have the opportunity to come on site. They have the opportunity to look around and see what's going on and, address problems they don't like. If they see someone tearing up the road at 5:30 in the morning, then you can bet that guy's not going to be probably employed within a week and something like that. They'll figure it out. No, if they're not going to, the landowner is number one. They're the ones who are most cared for, and then the surrounding area, the surrounding people are the secondary. Not saying secondaries and they don't care about them, but the person that is letting you on their land, that we keep everything nice and clean and do everything to make them happy. If they're upset with something, then
Okay.
meetings are held, and
Right.
Sure.
make sure they're kept happy, and then it goes downhill from there. Like their surrounding properties, if they have
Yeah.
problems with trucks and how they're not just pickup trucks, but we're talking like semi trucks with
Right.
heavy
Right.
equipment and
Here.
stuff like that.
I'm going to
So
move you on to the next
all right.
question because there's still a bunch of them. Okay. So thank you so much. Whoops, that wasn't the question. I just lost it. Hold it. So T. Andrews asks, was the oil site, I can answer this one, was the oil site fully operational when Chris chose it? Well, I mean, I don't know if I guess it was fully, but it was operational, or, they wouldn't have been run. Yeah. Well, go ahead, Kevin. You can answer that.
Well, it's operational as a site that has been there for a long time. So it's a permanent site. It's been producing for a long time. So it's nothing new. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what kind of question that he's getting into, but or they are getting into, but
Mm-hmm.
it's been there for a while. There'd be nothing new happening. That's
Yeah.
probably
Okay.
the big answer to the question. You would question if something new would be coming onto your property, being the Cervi owner, be like, hey, well, we've
Yeah.
been producing this oil for this long, so what's this big piece of equipment coming up through here? Why is this guy
Yeah,
driving up
totally.
through
That
here
makes
like
sense. So a
that?
lot of it goes back to the owner. So
So
I never heard this. Gail asked,
operators,
oh,
no,
so
go
it
ahead.
was okay. She asked Kevin, is it true? I'm going to phrase it like this, a little different. Is it true that there was a body found a year before, like in the tanks? Had you ever heard of such a thing, Kevin, before that? A body being found on a site or
No,
in a tank? No, no, I
no,
don't
we've
think
had
so.
deaths, and the deaths that we had were people being uh, killed on site by accidents and stuff like that. There was nothing that I've ever been around that had someone
Anything like
stumbled
that.
upon a dead body or anything like that. No,
Right.
nothing like that
No.
has ever happened before in
That
my
was
not in my
creative thinking. Yeah. Okay, so this is a good one. Tina asks, "Are the hatch lids are they desensitized so somebody would know when the hatches are open? Like because of I guess I'm going to expand on that question. Due to the kind of material that is inside of the tanks and it being highly flammable and in the right situation certainly dangerous, is there some mechanism that's going to alert somebody when a thief hatch is opened?
absolutely not. There's
No.
nothing,
It seems like
nothing
that
at
could
all.
be a good thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Because, like, the gate, I saw the gate that's around Cervi, and I mean, it doesn't really look like it is. I'll pull a picture of that up in a minute, but it doesn't really look like it's truly going to keep people out of there.
I know. I thought the same thing.
Yeah. Huh. Whoops. Hold it. I just lost my earbud. Just one second here. Oh.
So other than
All right.
other than
The gate that
393.
you see at the gate that you
Okay.
see at Surrey 319 is much like gates that are a lot of them. It's just a gate to keep road traffic in and out, not coming in. You could get out and walk around the gate and then walk up to the site.
Mm,
Okay.
Right?
okay.
It's to keep
Let me go back and
like
I'm going to
a
grab a picture
footprint
of
of
that.
vehicles off the site. But you can just
Okay.
drive up to the gate, get out, walk around the gate, and then walk up to the site.
Wow.
Okay.
There's not
Okay.
like
So, go ahead.
oh no, I wasn't
Hello.
saying nothing. There's
Oh,
nothing
okay.
else
Okay.
around it. Like there's nothing else
Okay.
around it. You just have a gate in the road. That's it.
Okay. All right. So, and let's see. Another question. What type of data do the gas meters read? The ones that Nicole Kessinger calibrated, are they used as standard operation procedure?
I would say in drilling, yes, because when you're drilling, you don't know ever what you're going to encounter. So everything that comes
Uh-huh.
back out of the ground, you're investigating it, you're looking at it. They take samples of it. They want to know what's going on, what's coming back out from the drill bit. So you're pushing water and sand down into a hole, and so you continuously monitor what's coming back the
Hmm.
other way. So you push it out, and it comes back another way. Like
Okay.
it's like a straw. You push it in through the straw, but then after it exits the straw, it comes through the outside of the straw and back up. And then you take samples of that and you realize, oh, yeah, are we getting into something that's dangerous, or I mean, are there hydrocarbons there that we haven't seen before? With this, and that's
Okay.
basically all done with drilling, because you're not going to be doing that in any other way. It's all done when it's done drilling. So I don't know what you mean by exact data, but way of like saying a smoke alarm detects smoke. So you have
Okay.
sensors that detect this, the dangerous gas. So once that's detected, then the whole ball, everything changes after that. You have to
Okay.
have
All right.
Mm.
people with forced air induction breathing and all that stuff. It goes into closed quarters. Yeah, uh, when you go into a container, I forget what it's called right now, but you have to have like a positive air ventilation. So you have to have all different kind of equipment set up to have a person be able to breathe and be able to work freely. But
Okay.
that's pretty rare.
Oh, okay.
It's rare, as in I never been around it.
Okay.
I've seen sites where they said it could happen and stuff like that, but nothing's ever happened. And
Okay. Here, I got another question for you. Now, Kevin doesn't work. He's not in Colorado. He's in a different part of the country, but he had sent me like a screenshot of, he working with like Anandarko in the state he's in. I don't know if he wants to say that or not, but this is a good question though. And I don't know if you'd have any, knowledge of this, but Sherry wants to know about the ground in, considering that, we're looking at that timeline, understanding that Chris Watts was at Cervi 319 for 46 minutes, being virtually undisturbed. She says, please ask Kevin about the grounder. Was it hard to dig? And ask him, does he believe that Chris had enough time?
well, that picture right there that you're showing is the best one I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how far away the ground dropped off from the site. You sometimes the site sits on top of a hill and the ground falls away from it, so
Okay.
it sits on its own. And I didn't know by this picture. It looks like it's relatively pretty flat, and it looks like it's all like loose sand, loose dirt.
Okay.
But I'm not going to speculate about how anybody could have any time to do anything. I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
I
lot of
I'm not going to do that.
variables that go into that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't
So
possibly.
So now here's a picture of, so that was a good question though. Sherry, that's, I think that is one of the big factors into understanding if he had enough time. And the only reason that question is asked is because the answer to that question is going to indicate a lot of other unknowns. So here, guys, also is a picture of the gate that we were referencing. So this is the actual gate that was outside. You'll see at the top here it says Cervi Ranch Rules. And, there's wire around it. Is it barbed wire? I have no idea. But, again, if you truly were looking to keep people out for some reason, like, for example, because they thought that people accessing the batteries was going to be a safety hazard, it would seem they'd have to have more intimidating gates. But I don't think people ever imagined that, like, something like this, for example, would happen. I mean, gosh,
Yeah,
because it's crazy.
just a little.
Let's see.
How about Kevin? Like, if you arrived at a site as, say, the water truck guy, and you see possible leak, what's your chain of command to call? Who do you call first, and what happens?
Well,
And along with that, hold it. This goes along perfectly with that. Also, what would compliance mandated that reporting the leak had to happen in a certain amount of time. So all of that.
yeah, that's good. All right. So I would call my boss and I would say, "Hey, there's something weird going. I mean, something's going on. Well, we're with this site. I used to go out to a place for 6 months straight while I was out there at 4:30 in the morning. I had no lights, had
Mhm.
Wow.
nothing at all. So it was this complete darkness. So anything that I could possibly see, but I mean, I would report to my boss, and then he would go straight to the company and say, "Hey, our guy reported this out there," and then they would go out there to verify it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't have any way to fix it. I don't have the tools and the things to fix it. And they wouldn't want me to fix it because I'd be an outside contractor doing
Right.
somebody else's job. But you would just report it. I would just report it to that water truck driver would report it to his boss, and then he would call Anandarko and be like, "Hey, this guy is saying that there's a leak here and stuff like that," and then they would go out there and deal with it.
Yeah. Now, is there a certain now? I before have let me just tell you a little background on this about what conversations I've heard people have about this or information that I've heard put out about this. So, in regards to, is there a certain time frame in which you'd have to report the leak, or I'm going to expand that question, do something about that leak? Like, I know somebody whose husband worked in the oil fields for a long time, and his stand on this is if he were at his company, if he had allowed a release or a leak to go over a weekend, he said they should have been fired. What do you think about that?
Well, we talked about that on Alert Live.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, should have been fired.
Yeah.
To leave any kind of a leak go, and them knowing about it. I mean, there's pictures of it on Friday. So to say, "Hey, guess what? It's Friday. Oh, there's a leak on 319. Oh, I'll get to it Monday." And Chris
Right.
volunteers to go out and do it with it Monday. I mean, it was a perfect setup for him to do what he was going to do. But you just don't let stuff like that go. I mean, you
So then
have
why, we have those text messages between Troy McCoy and Chris Watts. So I just feel like, gosh, shouldn't they have known, like, that would be a big deal? I mean, regarding their future employment with a company, but yet they're texting back and
no,
forth
I don't
about
think
it.
so. Not with them.
No,
Not with them. Because
no.
they're company guys. They run the whole thing, so they can do whatever they want. Let
Okay.
they just had a leak that was coming off a vertical riser coming out of the ground. You dig some of the dirt away after you fix the leak, and then you throw that dirt somewhere and forget about it. And that's all they would do. But if it was a contractor, it'd be a whole different show. You'd have to
Okay.
have shut the whole place down and get the dirt. You can't we actually have places that wash dirt, if you believe that. So you take the dirt and it gets washed and tumbled in these big dryers and
Oh
then
my
taken
gosh.
back out to the truck. Yeah, that's that. Yeah. So that was that
Huh.
it's called reconditioning of the earth.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you take it's environmental protection. So you just you recycle everything and you keep everything cleaner than how you found it. So
Okay. Huh. That's wild. Here I'm looking through the. Do you see any other questions, Rose? I'm looking through the
I'm looking.
discovery for something.
Got a disturbing email that came in, so just
What's that?
Ooh, I just got a disturbing email that came in through the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. I'll read it to the group at the very, very end.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
I'm
Yikes.
sorry for all of us. This is not normal. Okay, all right. Let
Wow.
me see here. Let me see what's
Okay.
huh?
You see those tanks, those two tanks right there? That's not
Yeah.
very hard to climb. That's a stairwell going up with a handrail. So he would have been
Right.
very easily going up that stairwell. It's not a ladder climbing straight up.
Yeah.
Right.
You have a
Yeah.
stairwell
That's a good
that
point.
climbs up to above them. Yeah. And he was
So yeah,
saying
people.
in
I'm sorry.
his
Go ahead.
jailhouse interview how he was surprised. He was surprised that he had the energy to take the second child and carry them up. I'm like, you're surprised that you had the energy to carry them up the stairwell. I mean,
Yeah.
it just struck me as odd that he would say that
Hmm.
he thought he was surprised with his own strength to do that after he did everything else. It's just
Wow.
a weird thing that stuck out in my head. Oh, I was surprised that I had the strength to climb up that stairwell again with my other kid to, put
Wow.
him in the other tank. But yeah, it's not straight up and down. It's a
That is
stairwell,
strange.
just like you climb in an office
Yeah.
building or anything, with a handrail.
Yeah, well,
He
people
would have,
ask
he could have
that. They're
had,
like,
you
"Oh, he
know,
wouldn't have enough time. He had to climb the stairs." I'm like, "Man, if you can't climb a flight of stairs, you got bigger problems." I don't know.
it's a
Yeah, he was going to
stairwell.
run a.
But
You
He
just
was
go up
going
the
to run a
stairs.
marathon.
It's
He
20,
was, the dude's getting ready for a
20
5
foot high. It's not that
marathon.
high.
No,
I don't think so.
no.
Okay, here. I just
No,
want to
it's fine.
read. I'm going to read this here. This is from the Discovery. So this has to do with well, this is, the written, let's see, record of the interview with Troy McCum on freaking StreamYard. This is killing me. Hold it. Let me close down other things here just a second. Jeez, this is so annoying. StreamYard, I am extremely unhappy with you. If I had another service to use, I would. All right. So there probably is. I'm going to look into that actually. Okay. So it says McCoy said he saw Watts on Friday, August 10th, 2018. Now, an interesting fact about Friday, August 10th, I'm not reading this as a side note, 2018, is that Troy McCoy, Chris Watts, and Nicole Kessinger all had off work. Nicole Kessinger had her friend Danielle in town. Chris Watts took off the day saying he needed to take his wife to the airport, even though he did not. Nicole Atkinson did that. And we don't know why McCoy had the day off. So going back to reading the Discovery, McCoy said Watts told him that Watts took Friday off to work to take off his wife, Shanann Watts, to the airport for her business trip to Arizona. McCoy said he met Watts in a Safeway parking lot in Fort Lupton at about 3:05 p.m. to receive Watts' Amazon Fire Stick for his television. McCoy said Watts showed up driving Shanann's white Lexus sport utility vehicle. McCoy said he was able to see Bella and Celeste in the back seat of the SUV. He said he could see both children were buckled in their seats. McCoy said he waved to Bella and Celeste and he could hear them laughing. McCoy said he knows Bella and Celeste from past contacts with Watts. McCoy said he was talking to Watts in the Safeway parking lot. McCoy received a phone call from Cody Roberts, who's another Anandarko employee, who also, by the way, is McCoy's roommate. Roberts told McCoy that there was a leak in the bypass line on the oil well site Cervi 319. McCoy said the leak was small enough that it could wait until Monday to be fixed. McCoy said Watts overheard part of the conversation with Roberts, and Watts volunteered to go out to Cervi 319 first thing Monday morning to fix the leak. McCoy said he did not think it was unusual for Watts to volunteer to go out and fix the bypass line. McCoy said he did not see or have contact with Watts again until Monday, and that's how it all went down. Just a little FYI. People often ask about that and also tell various renditions of that whole situation that sometimes are accurate, sometimes are not. Yeah. Okay, soon goes on tanks. in these what? Sorry to be this morbid, but could we assume in what photos? I don't. Oh, yes, yes, Stevie, yes. You could assume that. Yes, I know, and it's a terrible thought, isn't it? Yeah. Let's see here. Um, would huh? I don't understand that. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to find a question I'm comprehending here. Let's see. I know there's more. So, Kevin, for those of you that have not didn't hear in the beginning, Kevin has been working in like the oil fields, including with, you know, equipment and oil batteries and everything having to do with the operation of these oil tanks for 18 years. So, do not question his expertise.
He is our
Well,
guru.
I'm just kidding, but always be polite to guests, please.
That's right. Thank you again, Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin, you're awesome. Thank you so much. Let's see. How much danger? Okay, so good question. Cheryl asks, how much danger were the men in, the ones who did the recovery operation?
They definitely were in
Okay.
danger.
First of all, you'd have to drain the tanks. So you'd have to have water transfer trucks come and empty out the tanks and then open up the back of the tanks, which have, I don't know, maybe 3 by 2 foot steel plates bolted into place. And then they would continue, after they loosen them, to continue to suck out the rest. You can't empty the tanks normally because there's a pipe that goes into them that's higher than the lowest part of the tank. So, like, the lowest you can get a tank by sucking it normally would be 1.5 feet.
Mhm.
So you'd have to have trucks come in and they have pumps on them, and you could suck the remainder of the fluid out and then go in and get the girls out.
Oh boy, okay.
So, Kevin, are those? Do you know anything about like wearing grounding bracelets that are tested weekly to ensure that not even because all it would take was something as simple as a little bit of electricity, like an electric.
Oh yeah, that was a joke. Yeah, they have the water trucks have grounding things,
Oh,
and the guys just take them and throw them on the ground. They think it's funny.
that's not
It's
funny.
like if your truck gets hit by lightning.
Yeah,
But
that's for a
yeah. I'm sorry, what?
It's not funny for two men in a tank where, God forbid, someone does have a little bit of electricity shock and static electricity.
Yeah,
Something that
that's not the
basic.
normal operation. That's not what normally happens. No one's going into those tanks normally. So
Right.
you would ground out the by sticking the copper rod in the ground, and then
Okay,
you would
that's what I meant. Okay.
stick that into a wrap that into a metal. Yeah, okay, yeah. You
Thank you.
ground it, and
Yeah.
then you don't have to worry about any kind of electrical
Right.
magnetical impulse or anything like that. It's going to set anything off.
Okay.
What's more is
Sure.
flammable.
Oh, yeah,
Someone
absolutely.
smoking a cigarette or something, which
Right.
don't happen. So
You have to just cover every base.
Okay.
they
Let's
have
see.
their own places where they're allowed to smoke. This is the where you go into the site, which is called a muster point. So if something goes wrong on site
Yeah.
and there's a bunch of people there, you go to the muster point, and then the muster point is usually above air or above. Let me think. Above ground of the gas that would come out of those tanks, because the air in the tank's heavier, so it would go downhill. So your muster point's higher. So you gather everybody up higher, which is usually the entrance point of the site.
Okay.
if you
Okay.
have that opportunity to do that, depending on the landscape of the site.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay, guys, if you have other questions for Kevin, please put them in chat if you don't mind. Put them in capital letters or something
Okay.
where I can be able to easily see. So, yeah, I'm not going to address questions specifically. I understand the questions about, but about the remains of the victims. I just don't want to. I just don't want to go there. Sorry, guys. I know you're not trying to be like, just because. Let's see. Um, yes, Kevin is legit. um, so I don't know. R says, what do you CW plan to go by himself, or was it just that he wanted to be the first to arrive on scene to do what he had to do? Yeah, I mean, I think he definitely ensured that he was first. Um, yeah, and then oh gosh, this is, I don't know. Yeah, I can't. Some of these questions I just can't. Just personally, it's just too
Uh,
much.
I'm trying to. I know. I'm trying to get rid.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So R says, I had to research what a bypass line was. Kevin, can you explain about a bypass line? Is a bypass line leak not a huge deal since they waited till Monday?
Well, not a huge deal to them. It'd be a huge deal to everybody else because it's environmental protection. So you have a leak. It's a leak. A leak is a leak. So you have a leak going into the ground. Bad thing. So, like I said, Anandarko being Anandarko, they just are like, hey, we'll just brush it off till Monday. And Monday comes, we'll clean it up, and that's the end of it. You know what I mean? But if it was somebody else, then it'd be a whole big thing. Like, say that water truck guy showed up and noticed that leak, then it would be a completely different story. Because he would have sent in a chain of events that would happen. He would call Anandarko, and then there would be a record of him calling Anandarko saying there's a leak on site, and that way they would have to go out there and fix it right away. But since Anandarko guys saw the leak first, we just wait till Monday. It's all right.
Got ya.
You
Yeah,
know,
that
it's
seems like the
not a
wrong
big
thing to
deal.
do. Oh man.
But and whatever they're doing in Colorado there is not what they do in Pennsylvania. So we have very hard rules here in you very strict, and whatever they got going on there is a completely different world. So
Well, gosh, I even know that, working in the telecom industry in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, it was so highly regulated and there was so much less risk of something dangerous happening. But I know, for example, when we were considering a place to build a site, we had to do all of this testing on the ground. And if there was something, I think it was called a D restriction, which is any indication of any kind of diesel or certain other kinds of oils had ever touched that soil, the site would be disqualified immediately. It does seem like Colorado is a little loosey goosey with some things.
well, someone asked a question a while ago. You buy land and then
Mm-hmm.
you buy mineral rights. So if you
Mm-hmm.
buy land and the mineral rights to the land, you're basically buying the land to the core of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just buying the land, then you're buying a certain topical part of the
Right.
landscape,
Hmm.
and somebody else owns that land beneath you, and they can drill underneath you. They can do whatever else. They're getting the royalties. They're getting the money. But if
Wow.
you don't get the mineral rights to your land, then you're just living topsoil. If you buy the mineral rights and your land, you're buying it down to the core of the earth.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's interesting. I never knew that. Or I
Yeah.
think, yeah, that's interesting. Let's see. Let's see. Going down. Hey, John McSmith, how are you? Let's see. Um, which question? Why did they allow these minors in there when we didn't? I'm trying to follow some of these.
Me too.
Let's see. Okay, gotta keep going. Kevin, is there anything else that you had like thought of that you thought, just people who are following this case, but obviously with Cervi 319 being a part of it, that like, oh, well, these people think that because they don't know about this. If they knew about this, whatever it is I know about, they wouldn't think that way. You know what I'm saying?
And pretty much from the past lives and with this one, can't think of anything else. Yeah, it's easy to walk yourself onto a site if you want to walk on the site. You can just park your car on one side of the gate and walk around the gate and then walk on the site. It might be a quarter of a mile, might be 300 feet. Eventually, you'll be there, but you'll be there. You'll be able to do whatever you want. So, when it comes to thief hatches and stuff like that, they aren't tied down. Like they're not locked because you have to deal with employees that get turned over at a certain amount of rate, and then if I were to go to Cervi 319 and I put a padlock on top of the tank or both of the tanks, and then the water transfer guy shows up and he wants to do a measure on the tanks, well, he can't because there's a padlock on there. Well, then that completely spills out into a hole. Well, then you have to go out there and open up this tank. Well, what if I quit or got fired in between that time? Well, then you got padlocks on these tanks. So there's a reason why it's accessible the way that it is. It seems ridiculous, but there's a reason why it is ridiculous, because you just can't lock everything up because you have people coming in sometimes when you don't know that they're going to show up to measure tanks, to look at gauges and stuff. And that's why the gates, they don't have key locks. They have combination locks. Not like combination like you spin a dial, but like 4-digit combinations. So you lift up the padlock and you have 4-digit number that you have to enter into the padlock, and then it opens it up for you. And that can change. If someone in Anandarko gets fired, then a guy the next day goes out and changes all the codes of all the gates, and then that gets filtered down through everybody else that might go out there to those sites that this is a new gate code. That's how you get in there.
Okay. All right. Here's a couple other really good questions. It's very interesting. So, let's see. Now, so the question itself is, thanks for the question, Maltese Cross says, do you think the leak was man-made on purpose? So, the reason that I feel like people might wonder that, one of the reasons which you kind of explained is because, they did let it go over the weekend. But do you think it was man-made, or do you think that this was just Chris Watts in the most disgusting way, lucky day, that he, heard this conversation and, now going along with that, DC Crime Freedom said, largely based on, some information she's heard from you today, she believes that it's very possible that this whole thing was staged, which I think really goes along with the man-made question. Do you have any thoughts on any of that?
No, I don't know how you make a O-ring leak. So you'd
Yeah.
have a piece of rubber in between two pieces of pipe, and then that. How do you make that piece of rubber leak? No,
Right.
not man-made.
No.
Especially the way the stain was on the ground. It looked like it was either dripping or it was coming up from the ground. So that doesn't look man-made at all. It looks like it was just a freak of nature that happened at that time.
Mm-hmm.
You go out there. I think there's lots of text and stuff about having O-rings. An O-ring is a piece of rubber that's the shape of a O that you would put between two pieces of pipe that secure any leaks coming in between those two pipes. Eventually, they dry rot, they leak, and then you
Yeah.
have to replace them.
Okay.
So I
All
think
right.
it's more of a where like it got wore down. It just happened naturally. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think it's a man-made kind of leak.
Okay. All right. That's a I think it's an important answer actually. So, DC asks, are gasoline tanks like the one that we knew that Chris Watts loaded in his truck, and cigarette lighters like the green one that was found in the front passenger side seat door of his truck, are those items prohibited in work trucks?
No,
Okay.
no, not at all.
Okay. Good question though. Let's see. Hmm. That's a brilliant question.
Don't forget that you might have to go out there and weed whack a bunch of weeds that are growing up around the site. You might have to go out and cut grass or something. With these operators, what they do is they maintain the site so it's clean and looks nice and uh,
Mm,
is it it looks like it looks suitable that you don't want to look unkept. So you
right.
can go out there with gasoline can, you can go out there with diesel or all that other stuff. Now there's no reason why that any of that would be uh, prohibited or anything at all. I had on my truck a 95-gallon diesel tank that I used to fill up light towers with
Okay. All
because
right.
you're working at night. You need light towers. You need heaters during the winter. Heaters have 300 gallons of diesel in them for every 12 hours. They
Mm-hmm.
heat up the pipes to keep them circulating during the winter so they don't freeze up. So everything runs on diesel except for the certain things that run on gasoline, which is
Okay.
small, like lawnmower or a weed whacker. So no, none of that is abnormal at all.
Okay. All right. So this is kind of unrelated to the oil fields, but you bring up a good point here I want to address because it's important in the context of the whole committing of the crime and people being suspicious or covered up or whatever. And thank you for the reference. So Jennifer Bradford says, interestingly, page 649 in Discovery, it says that NK was suspicious of the leak because policy was an environmental team would be notified. So this part of the Discovery actually is in very scanty terms, noting what was said by Nicole Kessinger in her interview on August 21st, 2018, the part that was not released in audio, that part for which I released a video last week reading the transcript between herself and Detective Baumhover. That's what he's referring to when he says this. Now, it is important to know that this is the third time that Nicole Kessinger spoke on the subject, at least that I know of in her interviews. And the previous two times, she thought it was no big deal. So about halfway down the paragraph, it says, Nicole is suspicious as to why Chris would be checking up on a release that he was not part of the environmental team. She explained usually if a release is reported, a team of environmental specialists respond to deal with the case. Do you know that to be true, Kevin?
That makes sense, but he'd be the one to fix it.
Okay,
unless that's
right,
not his
sure.
site.
Yeah.
So he would be, if that wasn't his site, which I don't know if that was his site that he would go to regularly to look at, he would be the one to fix it. So him going to go look at it is not a big deal. Having a team of environmental specialists going out there for that little spot in the ground is overkill. I
Okay.
wouldn't even think that anybody would even go out there for that,
Yeah,
because
when I
they would
when I was
look at the
reading that
pictures and be
part,
like, whatever.
when I was reading that transcript, I got the distinct impression, it was from reading it, and the way Kessinger was stumbling over her words, it seemed like she really didn't know what to say, and I did not really feel like she was well versed at all in what she was talking about. But that's just me. So Sarah says Chris Watts text Cody the leak was fresh. That is the wording he used. 3-day old oil leaks aren't fresh, in my opinion. I mean, is fresh just Chris Watts' term, or would that be a specific way one would describe oil on the earth? What do you think?
You mean that it wasn't fresh enough to have other people go out there and look at it? Is that
I don't
what
know.
the
She was just
gesture
saying
that is?
it was reported 3 days prior, but he's saying it was fresh. I don't know. There might not be anything
Oh,
to
well,
that,
first
but
of all, what you said about Nicole Kessinger being stumbling over her things and that didn't know what she was, I totally believe that. I already told
yeah,
you guys what I think about sneaky people, and
yeah,
they don't do anything at all. So when something actually happens, yeah, you'd be stumbling over your feet and trying to figure out what to do. Even if it was something that small, nothing's going to happen. These guys go out there, Chris Watts, Troy, they go out there, change an O-ring, dig up the ground, and end of story. Leak's done, no problem.
yeah. Okay. So, Maltese Cross asked, and we kind of answered this before. I'm not sure if you were here, but the question is, should that size of a leak have been left over the weekend? And I think what we kind of determined, tell me if I'm wrong, is really no leak should be left. It could indicate a bigger problem, right? But that wasn't maybe so important to Chris Watts and his team. I think that's kind of how we said it, right?
Well, thinking about Chris Watts and what he already thought about doing and
Right.
having that leak come up is opportunity. That's an opportunity for him to go out there.
Yeah.
So I don't see any other thing that uh, puts Chris Watts on 319 that day, unless that's
Mm-hmm.
his site to do his rotation. What these guys do, he's an operator.
Uh-huh.
What these operators do is that they go out to their designated sites. They check the
Mm-hmm.
gauges on the wellheads. They check the gauges at the separator. They look at the tanks, make sure that they're not going to overflow anytime soon and stuff like that. Job, and dirt and
Mm-hmm.
debris or garbage, you pick that up and you're done with your job. So I really don't know how it was just like something that he gravitated. Like I said, I don't know if that was his site to go check. He volunteered to go do it.
Right.
Like they knew that site was leaking on Friday. There's pictures of that site leaking. He volunteers to go out there, and then the whole thing happens with him taking his family out there.
Right.
I
It's
don't really know if that was, his site to go out there and do anything with. He volunteered to do it.
right.
Usually when a guy goes out and volunteers to do something like that, you're like, oh, yeah, sure. Maybe it's okay. Just say it this way. If that was Troy's site and the leak was reported on Friday and Chris Watts said, oh, I'll go out there. I'll go out
Yeah.
there Monday morning first thing. And then, from there, Chris Watts is planning his whole thing about taking his family out there. I don't know. I don't think anybody has no one
Yeah.
knows about what sites these certain guys have. If
Right.
Troy has a site, Chris Watts isn't going to be on that same site. They all
Right.
are doing different sites.
All
So
right. They're
like
assigned to the site.
all
Yeah.
covering a large area. So
Okay.
him voluntarily going out there to fix that site up has to do with,
What
was
he was
that
thinking.
his site to do anything with to begin with? Who knows?
Right.
No
Okay.
one knows anything about that.
So Cheryl Lutz asks, is Anandarko in any kind of trouble for the Watts murders there? Do you know anything about that? Did they assume any kind of liability in this tragedy? What do you think?
Does
Hello?
Anandarko assume any
The question is, are they in any kind
liability
of
in?
trouble for the murders? Like, did they do anything wrong where they're going to get in any trouble for what happened that day?
I think they would have already gotten in trouble. I guess that there's stuff about them selling their stock for less than it was. I mean, that's all after all that's happened. Their stock went down, and they sold a bunch of stuff. I mean, who knows? I mean, I'm really gonna sound like a jerk when I say this. Is like that's such a small thing to have happen. I mean, to think that this guy killed his wife and his girls and put them in oil tanks really doesn't play into the large scale thing about
No.
energy and who's paying for it and what you have and what that really doesn't come into play in anything. Anandarko, I don't see how Anandarko has anything to do with it. Yeah, you could have done better with hiring better people. Yeah, you could have kept up with interpersonal relationships in the office. And yeah, but it seems like it happened pretty
Secure.
fast. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
security, but they're all the same way. They're all the same way. I mean, they just recently started putting cameras up, and
No,
4
I
or
don't mean
5 years ago. But
I
the
mean,
sites,
maybe
So-
somebody at those gates of highly, flammable explosive batteries, let alone, someone then showing up at 6 a.m. with two little girls in the car. Had there actually been people there at those gates?
there's
Maybe.
nobody. These sites that Chris Watts was going at were very used old production
I know,
sites. There's
I
nobody going to be at the gate.
I understand that.
So
Had that been something already in the works, Kevin, it could have possibly
oh,
presented,
I'm sorry. Yeah,
right?
no, go. Yeah, you have to lead me into this. I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
Like, had there already been that as part of their practice, where at say 6 a.m. there is someone at that gate monitoring who's in and out. Yeah, Chris Watson.
Yeah, you're talking about no one does that stuff, man. I go up to sites and I'm by myself. I pick stuff up, I drop stuff off, I leave the site. Sometimes there's cameras, sometimes they're not.
Yeah, see, that's
I
scary.
don't know what to tell you. It's not.
It's not
Yeah,
neat.
it's scary.
I don't know, Kevin. It's not that it's nationwide, maybe. I know here in Pennsylvania, we do have a huge industrial site where there are in the very back oil tanks, and all night long at that industrial site, there is a watchman on duty. You can't get in or out without letting him open the gate for you and ask you where you're going. But this was an old site, like you said. So, unfortunately.
No, I could take you on brand new sites. I could take you right now on brand new sites. There might be cameras, but I can just get you right past those cameras and put the code in. I can take you right up to the site.
That's cameras.
Let you do whatever you want to on the site.
That's cameras, though.
It's
I'm
not-
saying because they're this is an industrial park.
No.
It's a watch guard that's at the gate. So, Anandarko might have, you would think after this happened, you wonder, did they step it up
You would
at all?
have to hire thousands of guys. You'd have to have thousands of security shacks with air conditioning and heating and water,
And that's
then you'd have to have the porta pots, and then you'd have to have. They're just not going to pay for that. It's just wide open.
And that's very
It's
sad.
wide open.
Yeah, that's sad in Colorado because it is so vast compared to where we're at. It's much easier when they're in an industrial park that is monitored by a watch guard at a gate in a little booth all night long. There's a big difference, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big difference when you're out in the woods in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, it's a really big difference.
Oh, goodness.
So I used to roll up in an 18-wheel tanker truck
Mhm.
at 4:30 in the morning at a gate. I put my code into the gate. I go up there. I drive along the lace road. I go up to the tanks. I take the water out of the tanks. I'm all by myself the entire time. I come out of the site. I lock the gate back up and I leave. And I take it to a recycling plant and then I go back again 2
Yeah,
hours later.
yeah,
So there's nobody watching that stuff.
yeah. Yep.
Let's see. Let me know if you guys have any more questions for Kevin, please. Type them in chat if you don't mind. Please put them in caps or something so I can easily see them. So I can just go and grab your question and read it.
And I hope I'm not like being a jerk or anything. I'm just telling
No.
you about how
No,
like I
that's
said,
what I appreciate.
I just exactly how it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
yours is
out. Sometimes you're out there in the middle of nowhere
right.
with you have no lights, you have nothing, but
Ugh.
your lights on your pickup truck or your
Right.
whatever truck that you have and stuff like that. There's no light towers. There's nothing,
Yeah.
and you have to go out there and do your job and come back out, lock the gate up, and leave. And there's trust, and that's why I was in the situation that I was in because I was trusted so much because. I mean, 2 days after I quit, I had a guy coming up here 2 foot of snow, trying to get me to work for him and stuff like that. Because I have a reputation, so I put all that on the line when I talk to you guys. This is exactly how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. No, I appreciate it very much.
Reality. Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, it's not pretty. It's
No.
not cool, but I'm just telling you exactly how it is.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, we already answered the question about the 8-inch thief hatch. So you have to go back and listen. Sorry, it's just a hard one to talk about anyway. Yeah, so what about this? I was just reading this part in the Discovery, Kevin, about Troy going back on Tuesday. I mean, do you have any thoughts on that? Kev?
Oh yeah, that's very interesting to me.
Me too.
Why a guy would spend his time to go back looking for a crescent wrench
Right.
when he probably should have like 12 of them. But that makes no sense at all.
No.
I don't understand anything when it comes to Troy.
Right.
I don't understand what anything that he did makes any sense. To say that he had a bad feeling about, he doesn't really say. He says he had a bad feeling about not Chris Watts or the girls, but he wanted to see if he could find something. And then when he went back, he encountered somebody that said that he was looking for a crescent wrench.
Yeah.
Well, if you find a crescent wrench laying on the ground, you just pick it up and take it with you. No one's gonna say anything. I mean, that's gone. If you lose a crescent wrench, and I mean, some of them could be 3 foot long. Some of them can be kind of expensive. I'm sure he didn't pay for them, but that makes no sense. I don't know why you would go out to a site looking for something that you have no idea what you're looking for,
Mhm.
and then saying something about, oh, I was trying to find a crescent wrench. That's complete. I don't know what's going on there.
Right.
It makes no sense to me. Like, I would not go back to a site looking for something
Especially one that's
that
way
don't
out there.
belong to me.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why. I don't know what his purpose is. I don't know what his deal was with going back out there. Even if he says that he's going out to look for a crescent wrench that he lost, all right. So most likely it's gone. So no bother going out there. Someone already found it. They picked it up. Now it's theirs.
Mhm.
Don't know. I really don't get that guy at all. I don't understand anything that he says. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
I don't know much about the. Yeah, you can go into the fire stick and all that stuff and seeing the kids in the back. And when he talks about going back out and looking for something, that makes no sense to me. I don't know why you would do that. I
Yeah.
said before that you
And then
spend your
tell
time
law
on
enforcement.
site trying to get off site to go home.
Right. And then he didn't tell law enforcement he did that, which is
You
like,
don't look for opportunities to go back out there.
right. Yeah. And Gloria says, I heard Andarko tore the oil tanks down. That is correct. That's true. Yes, they did. But apparently, people say that the site was about to be taken down anyway because it was older. It was no longer going to be in operation, so they're not going to leave it up. So I'm not sure. So, and Sherry, yeah, I already asked him on behalf of somebody if he thought he had enough time, and he just said he's not going to go there. Like, he did say something I've been saying for a while. So thank you, Kevin. That to get up to the top of the oil tanks, it's just a stair. It's a couple flights of stairs. It's not a big deal.
Right.
He was pointing out that from the pictures we can see I don't know. He just doesn't really have an opinion on that. That's a hard one. Some people just don't want to go there, so I get that.
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So this that I'm playing right now is obviously the drone footage of Cervi 319, where they put the drones up, and what, I want to check about the time they put up those drones. Let me look into that real quick. If you have any last questions, I'm gonna let Kevin go soon. But if you have any last questions, please type them quickly in chat. You might be able to answer them. And thank you so much, Kevin. This is such great information. You have to understand that much of this information, none of us could possibly access on our own without your expertise. So it's really valuable, and I appreciate it.
Well, I hope that I'm giving you guys what you want to
Yeah.
figure out in your heads. But mostly what I'm trying to do is to say no to a lot of the speculations. No, no, no.
Yeah.
No, you're not going to die by being there. No,
Right.
I mean, yeah. So
Yeah, that's right.
it's easily accessible. You can walk up there. Nothing's going to happen to you. You can
Mhm.
walk around the whole site. Nothing's going to happen to you. Yeah, you could dig a grave around it. Yeah, you could probably do that. And you could do that in the cover of darkness. And what happens is when the people who say, like when they roll up on the site and they talk about where Chris Watts' truck was,
Yeah.
that's a tad tail sign right there. Because when you are working on something, you drive to where you're working and you park there. So you have your tools, because your tools are in your truck. So if you're working on that separator that's leaking, you're parked next to the separator. You're not parked to a wellhead. You're not parked anywhere else because you want your tools near you so you're not walking back into the site.
So is
That
where he
looks
parked strange or
ridiculous to
not?
anybody who would. What's that?
Is where he was parked suspect or
I'm
not?
sorry.
Is it?
Oh, that's very suspect. Yeah.
Okay.
Someone
Okay.
said that he came up and he was parked next to the wellheads. Yeah, that's absolutely. You would not be parked next to the wellheads. You would be parked next to the separator where you had the problem, because you'd have your tools in your truck, and you wouldn't have to walk far to get to your tools. Why would you walk 40 feet from your truck to the place, the separator, if you can just park next to the separator? So he was parked by the wellhead, pointing a certain way. And why would you be parked next to, like I tried to explain before, you don't park next to a wellhead. There's nothing next to a wellhead that you would ever need to do, except if you're there for a minute to look at the gauges on it. That's what you do. These operators, they come on site, they go to the wellhead, they look at the gauges on the wellhead, and from the gauges, they can tell if there's a problem or not, because if it's operating at 1500 psi one day and then next day it's 1300, well, then guess what? You have a leak. Then you go and try and find a leak. But you wouldn't stay at the wellhead. So why is he parked at the wellhead? Because it's closer to the Shanann.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
That's, I mean,
yeah.
you don't park next, you never park next to a wellhead.
Right.
There's no reason to park next to a wellhead because there's nothing there for you to get, you don't do any work there. In a place like that, what's going on is you park next to the tanks or the separators. You want to be around where the problem areas was the separator had a leak that was coming in or out of the ground by the separator, or you want to be by the tanks so you can measure the tanks. You wouldn't be at the wellhead at all.
Yeah.
So there's a it's like an attitude when you arrive at a place, if it's a department store or a fast food joint, you walk in and you look around, you get an atmosphere of the place, and you get what's going on here. Is it safe? Everything's cool. People just ordering their food and stuff like that. I roll up on Chris Watts' site, and Chris Watts parked by the wellhead, and there's no Chris Watts, or he's up on the tanks, or he's over by the wellhead, and his truck's over by he's at the tanks or the separator, but his truck's at the wellhead. Well, that's weird.
Yeah.
You familiarize the things that happen normally, and you look at something that's abnormal, and you're like, oh yeah, that's weird. Why was he parked at the wellhead? No one parks at the wellhead.
Yeah. Troy McCoy, I remember.
And that's where he was. He was parked at the wellhead.
Yeah, Troy McCoy had pointed that out, I remember. And
Yeah.
that he thought that was weird. And thank you for the super chat, DC Primetime. She says, thank you to Kelly and Kevin. Lots of great takeaways. And I think a lot of people probably had a lot of great takeaways. I have one more question here, and then I'll let you go, Kevin. But this was great. Thank you so much. Let's see. Where did that question go? I started. There we go. Maltese Cross asked, would it have been part? Oh, I can answer this one. Would it have been part of Nicole Kessinger's role to be involved in organizing who went out to the site? Thank you. She herself in the interview said that, no, it would not have been any part of her role to be, anything to do with, looking at that leak on that site. And from what some other people have done researching into what Nicole Kessinger actually did in Anandarko, it was very much kind of like a low-level office position. So no, she definitely wouldn't have been any part of it. And I don't think that, this is just speculation, but I don't think that she would have had any reason to believe that, say if they were conspiracizing together, I don't think that would not fit into the picture. Yeah.
Someone asked me, like, not even a week ago, is that because I was talking about how what I think what safety people do, and they asked me, so do you think that safety people are just there to make make it look good? I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's just to make the company look good. They don't actually do anything. It's just to make the company look like they're doing something for safety or environmentalism or something like that. But they don't actually do anything. That's why she wouldn't have anything to do with having anybody going out there, because she has nothing.
Yeah.
They don't do anything at all.
Gotcha.
Oh, but change the batteries in a gas detector. A couple of double A's. Anybody can do that. So it's that simple.
Yeah, no, I hear ya. I hear ya. So yeah, she doesn't. I don't know. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let like these guys go, and we'll be ending pretty soon. But Jennifer pointed out on page 694 of the Discovery how Nicole Kessinger, said, oh, it would have been an environmental team that would have responded to a release, which she explained to the investigators is what you call a leak at an oil field. And, I told you guys that in her previous interviews, when she talked to Kevin Kovac, her other lover boy, um, she didn't make a big deal about that at all. So, as we're ending the live stream here, I'm going to play for you what Nicole Kessinger, in fact, did have to say about
like a sales rep.
about Chris Watts responding to that release when she first heard about it. So thank you so much, Kevin. I really appreciate you coming on. You're like absolutely awesome. I told you other channels have tried to get you, and I'm like, no.
Of course.
I will not give you the information. No.
No.
So,
Kevin, thank you so much, Kelly. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
okay, awesome. Thank you, darling. So I very much, appreciate you helping us out here.
Yeah, no, I don't. I tried to listen to other people talk, and it just blows my mind. Talking to you guys is much easier than that would be to try and rearrange what everybody else thinks and try to make them think what actually happened. But you'd have to twist words and everything. It makes no sense to say that like Chris Watts was going to have his house blown up. Well, there's no gas lines going under his house, so how? I mean, these far, conspiracy theories and stuff like that. Yeah, there's conspiracy that's involved with it, but it doesn't have to be so wide range. What's actually happening is real enough. I mean, it's damaging enough.
Right.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
you
Some of the
don't need to have
conspiracy.
these wide range of a house blowing up and having a bunch of people killed and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
I think that he was like I said before, he was on a good path of doing what he wanted, but it got ruined too fast for him, and he couldn't keep up with it. I think that he would have done it. I think he would have got away with it.
Yeah.
I really do. I think he could have gotten away with it.
I think you might be right there, Kevin. But yeah, I agree with you. The conspiracy theories, the ones that are way out there, I mean, to speculate about certain things, people could call us conspiracy theorists if they want to, but the things that are way out there and that are not in any way grounded in fact, we don't want to have anything to do with that on this channel. So thank you for being part of like telling the actual truth about this story. Because I think understanding what happened, at 319 in a way is a big part of it. So I'm going to start playing.
We need to have a grounding. You need to put your feet in the ground, and then after you do that, you will understand that certain things can't happen.
Right.
Chris Watts' home could not blow up just because
Right.
he wanted it to blow up.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that whole thing with the house blowing up, the Mead thing, was a
Yeah.
dude that turned a valve in a site that was close to that should never been opened before. The whole handle, that whole valve handle should be taken off a long time ago.
Yeah.
that guy should never been able to turn that valve, but he did it, and now that house is filled up with gas and it
That's
blew
right.
up. That can't happen at
That's right.
Chris Watts' house. That's not going to happen there.
No, that's right.
So
No. All
they
right.
go about the toilet being empty. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. No, I hear ya. So, all right, Kev, I'm gonna let this little bit of the interview take over, and then I'm gonna be signing off, guys, everyone. But thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you so much, Rose. Thank you for being here, everybody. Thank you so much, moderators, and I really appreciate everybody with your questions and being respectful in chat. So thank you guys so much, and here you go.
So he never gave you the code to access his home?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
You talked about a security system. There was a camera on the front door. Was that just like what a Ring doorbell is that goes to your phone?
I don't even know what it looked like. I only know that it existed either because A, I wasn't paying attention the first time I was over there, but B, because of all the stuff that's going on right now. That's the only reason I know.
Okay. Did you remember
She'll be
seeing
talking
any
about him going out to the
cameras
field in a moment here.
Okay. Did he ever tell you about the alarm system or give you an access code to the alarm system?
I wouldn't have asked for that. I wouldn't have wanted that anyways.
Sorry to regress to that.
No, you're okay.
Go back to the phone call, or where you noticed the television in the background of the phone call.
So I didn't know what room he was in, but I was just like, I just thought it was weird because he's always like, before I go to bed and I lay down, he's always like kind of trying to do the same thing. We just talk. It's like a really chill thing till one of us is about to pass out, and then that's like the end of it. But it was strange because I was like, the TV's on. I remember I was thinking, I was like, maybe he's waiting up for her, and then I was like, maybe not. I didn't know. It wasn't something that like alerted me. It was just different from his standard operating procedure. Because whether his wife is home or she's gone, he's always got kind of like the standard op when he calls me. So that's why it was kind of like.
Oh, she's about to talk about that, him going into the field. But I also just want to say, if people want to post channel links in the chat, please go ahead and do so now. And, just talking about what I opened this up with, Molson Man's, when he answered the question, do you think the girls were murdered at the house or Cervi 319? And he said one at the house, one at Cervi 319. And I know what he's referring to. And I personally think that might be very possible. Now, any indication of whether that's true or not, the greatest indication we would find would be in Sherilyn Cato's book, Letters from Christopher, and what Chris Watts supposedly told Sherilyn Cato, which many people question. I'm not so sure about myself, but if you want to hear that book read, A Curious Rose is going to be doing that on her channel tomorrow night. So everyone, please go check that out.
Unique. Okay. Because it doesn't really fluctuate when she's there and when she's not there. He's pretty like free reign with what he does.
Mm-hmm. So anything important that you recall during that conversation about the children, about his wife, about what he was doing the next day, what he had planned, anything like that? Did he tell you any of that information?
I remember he told me he had to go to the field and not to the office on Monday morning.
Okay. Did he specifically say where he needed to go on Monday morning?
No, I don't ask him for those sites. There's like, Anandarko's got like thousands of sites. If he were to tell me, I wouldn't even
They're
know.
just like random numbers and stuff, right?
Well, he told me, he said, I got to go to a site. I got to go check out like a valve or something where they think that they had a release. Something like that.
Did he mention the town or anywhere?
No. He just told me that that's what he had to go do. He's like, he was like, I won't see you in the office in the morning. Because I see him, but I don't actually like talk to him. Like I will go in the cafeteria. I will put my lunch in the fridge, and him and his whole team are sitting in there, and I don't talk to any of them. I just walk out. But anyways, yeah, he's like, so I won't see you. I'm going to the field, which is not an uncommon thing for the ops guys to like just go straight to the field. Like
She's like, no big deal.
I go to the office, I would say like 3 or 4 days a week, but there are days where him and his other team members are not there, or like I'll get in there and some days the cafeteria is packed and they're all there. And other days I get in there and there's only like 3 or 4 of them.
So it didn't cause you any concern that he's
No.
like, I'm going to the field on Monday, I won't see you. That wasn't.
No,
that's happened before.
Yeah, I mean, It wasn't something. I mean, and it's not just him. It's like.
All right, so there we have it. Nicole Kessinger saying, no big deal. Like many other things Nicole Kessinger did, she changed her mind on this one. She backtracked, and many of us ask the question, why? So with that, I'm going to close out the live stream and thank you again, Kevin. Thank you, Curious Rose, moderators, everyone in chat. And go check out a Curious Rose reading of Cheryl Lynn Cadle's book, Letters from Christmas, tomorrow evening. And there will be a live stream on this channel, Watch the Obsession, again, Saturday evening. So everyone be safe. Take care. Lots of love to you guys and be safe. Oh, and Utter Nutter, nice to see you, honey. I hope everything's going well.